If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 176, Training begins. After defeating the rest of the devil banishers/believers, Grimm returned an unconscious Marie back to the church and quietly disappeared before anyone had realized that he was there. Grabbing the rest of his supplies and a few trinkets from the artifact store that belonged to his ex-wife/slave, he left the kingdom with a single thought in mind. Unrivaled strength. Month 1. Breathing heavily and training his physical strength alongside his hyper-focus. Both Grimm's body and mental strength increased by leaps and bounds, quickly adapting to the tyrannical mana in the Grand Magic Zone. Focusing mostly on increasing his use of hyper-focus so that he could improve his other magical abilities faster, he was pleasantly surprised to discover that his body was slowly becoming accustomed to withstanding the immense magical pressure within the Grand Magic Zone all by itself. Is this due to fusing Breath of the Beast into my base? Have I gained the adaptability of a beast? Month 2. Breath of Thunder, First Form, Thunderclap and Flash Rakery. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk asterisk swoosh. Asterisk asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Releasing a large amount of his magic power outwards and attracting the floating rocks in the air, a bare-chested Grimm dodged the large boulders hurling towards him with ease as he fired off several attacks of his own. Rakery. 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 Slashing his way through several rocks faster than the eye could see, he slowly sheathed his sword back in and opened his eyes up. Breathing out lightly and looking over at the slashed rocks in the distance. He nodded his head in satisfaction after seeing that they had all been perfectly split down the middle. Taking note of the increased range of his attack, he looked down at his clenched fist and smiled. I'm finally able to use my mana freely in this place. Having finally gotten used to enhanced mana abilities as well as being able to use his hyper-focus in such a mana-sensitive region without any interference or overdrawing on his mental strength, he concluded that he had reached the first goal in his training regime. Month 3. Having completed his first milestone and exhausted his use of the area, he quickly left the Grand Magic Zone behind in order to advance to the next stage of his training. Journeying through a thicket of wild trees and vegetation, Grimm crossed a large amount of land in record-breaking time. Almost there, he whispered as he closed in on his destination. Now that he had solidified his foundations and strengthened his control on his own mana, it was time for him to reawaken the powers he had lost. Ascending through the trees and hovering high above the canopies, the fresh scent of pines filled his nostrils as he stood facing a large wooden gate that just so happened to be the entrance to the witch's forest. I'm finally back. Pulling his arm back and igniting it with breath of flames. The thought of burning down the gate brought a huge smile to his face. But just as he was about to do his version of a knock, the gate suddenly began to rumble and open up by itself. Not too long later, he appeared before the Witch Queen and gave her a single phrase to explain why he had sought her out. I've come to bargain. In exchange for her using her knowledge on blood magic to guide him on how to activate the mana in his blood and trigger his elf form, every night Grimm would provide her his seed through the process of natural insemination. Unfortunately for the Queen, she underestimated how much he didn't want her to have his child. Making use of hyper-focus every time he blew, he'd use Breath of the Beast to destroy the tails and nucleus of his swimmers the moment they left his body. Sitting cross-legged and using his hyper-focus to find the traces of mana hidden in his bloodstream, day after day and night after night, the color in Grimm's hair slowly began to change from black to white. It was only during the last week of the month that it had fully changed and he had truly regained his elf form once again. Wind x Thunder. Breath of the Storm. Outside. Hey? Why did it get cloudy all of a sudden? Ugh, the wind. It's getting stronger. What's with the weather? Throne room. Natural mana reaction. Having her eyes snap open and standing up from her seat, the Witch Queen felt her entire body tremble as she realized that he had succeeded. The true son of mana has awoken. Following his second awakening, Grimm spent the rest of the week practicing turning his elf form on and off until he had gotten fully comfortable with it. During that time, he learnt that the elf form itself was completely different to what he thought. Unlike the first time he activated the power by devouring the soul of another elf, by activating it himself he learnt that he wasn't actually triggering his elven power. He was suppressing the human blood in his body which allowed him to go full elf. So that's how this works. He grinned. Month 4. Having regained his power from his fight with Zagred on top of everything else he had achieved since then, Grimm realized that he could no longer gain anything by staying here any longer. Packing his bag and giving the Queen a final quickie in order to exhaust her, he flashed through the sky and headed towards the next training area. Closing his eyes and recalling the signal he felt right after Licht descended, he triggered his elf form and let nature's mana guide him towards his destination. Having gotten a grasp on his enhanced mana, hyper-focus and the reawakening of his elven form, the next logical step in his training was to learn how to maximize the elven power to its fullest potential. And who better to teach him than the elves themselves? Heading towards a specific direction at high speeds, it was only once he sensed 3 familiar mana signatures approaching him that he began to slow down and eventually stop. Moments later, Rui, Fana and Patry appeared before him. Grim! They all said in a neutral tone. Noticing the mana around him, a look of surprise crept onto the elves' faces as they felt aura was somewhat different to what it was before. His increase in strength was quite evident and caused them all to recall their traumatic experiences with him. For Fana it was the fight against him in the Witch's Forest. The humiliation, brutally and fear she felt had left her with lingering mental scars that she had only recently begun to recover from. For Rui, it was his and Lyra's, elf Ril, battle against Grim when he first achieved his elf form. His savagery and the sadistic nature he possessed in that fight left him feeling deeply disturbed and distraught. As for Patry, it was the elation he had for his fight with the word devil. The glee he showed in tormenting Zagred was otherworldly. Not to mention the recklessness in his actions. While everyone was sweating and treating the situation with the utmost severity, Grim acted like a kid in a candy store. If anything, the entire experience left him feeling confused and quite concerned. Signaling each other with their eyes, the 3 elves came to a silent agreement. Get him out of here as quickly as possible. Chapter 177, Alysia. To think you'd travel through a grand magic zone all by yourself. Sigh, you're as impressive as ever, Grim. This damn monster's gotten even scarier than last time. Keeping a smile on his face, Patry and the others led Grim through a forest-like area on their way to their destination. Looking at the scenery, he noticed that the greenery here was much brighter and vibrant compared to that of the Witch's Forest. Even the mana here feels warmer. Hearing Patry's previous comment about the Grand Magic Zone, Grim couldn't help but laugh and scratch the back of his head. Hehe, this much is nothing. You should have seen the Grand Magic Zone I was training in for the last 2 months. The mana there was wild as fuck. Getting here was a cakewalk in comparison. Smiles. 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 Did he just say he spent 2 months training in a mana zone? It had to be said that traveling through a Grand Magic Zone was no easy task. Even Patry and the others had to exhaust quite a bit of energy before they were able to get here. But to hear Grim describe the Grand Magic Zone that they were in now as a cakewalk in comparison to the one he had spent 2 months training in, well, it almost felt like he was attacking their pride. Just how much more monstrous had this bastard become in the last 2 months? Why, you unbelievable, Grim. Fana stuttered, trying not to draw too much attention to herself. Discreetly looking him up and down, the amount of mana gathering around Grim left Rhea feeling speechless and regretful as to what they had to do for him. If he had gotten this strong just by training by himself, should we really be trying to make him stronger? Walking deeper into the forest, the trio eventually began to slow down and push Grim to the front as a worried look flashed across all of their faces as they said in union. Welcome home. Please don't destroy it. Standing before a grassy plain and hit with a rush of gentle wind that ruffled his hair, Grim found himself whistling at the sight of what lay before him. Groups of animals casually strolling around, large and small trees scattered all over the place and many little houses stationed everywhere. If he had to describe the scene before him, the only thing he could call it would be harmonious. Even the mana felt like it was in harmony with everything else. It almost felt like he was watching a scene straight out of a Disney movie. While Grim was admiring the view, the 3 elves were quietly kicking themselves for promising Licht that they'd look after him to the best of their abilities. With how strong and unstable he was at the moment, wouldn't making him any stronger threaten the safety of their village? Are those? Focusing his attention on the distance, Grim saw a couple of children running around and playing. But their ears, they were almost like his. The descendants of Licht and Princess Tesha. Patry answered with a smile as he looked at them from afar. Welcome to Alysia, Grim. The new elf village. New elf village. He repeated as the words settled with him. Is that why the mana here feels purer than at the Heart Kingdom? So this is what it's meant by having the blessings of mana. He muttered. Indeed. Rhea nodded, guiding Grim forward. Wherever elves gather, mana will follow. We are loved by this world and its mana. Didn't stop you from getting wiped out though. He quietly laughed. Now that brings us to the reason you've come. Walking past several descendants of Licht, Grim was greeted by a bunch of smiles and friendly waves. Weird. The matter of devils pouring into this world and your need to get stronger. We're aware of all of it. Devils pouring into this world. I don't remember the Heart Queen mentioning that. Wait. Does that mean I don't even need to go to the underworld? I could wait here for them. Digesting that new piece of information, he did his best to keep his face neutral and fish for more information. How do you know all of this? Did someone from the Clover Kingdom contact you? No. Patry shook his head. Then the Heart Kingdom. You'll know soon enough. He answered, trying to sound mysterious. Why do I have the sudden urge to stab him? Walking deeper into the forest, the group eventually arrived in front of a large tree with a small entrance carved into its trunk. Standing next to the entrance was a skinny blonde-haired elf that Grim hadn't seen in a while. Veto. TCH, took you long enough. He said, kissing his teeth. She hasn't stopped talking since she found out he was coming. If you don't go in now, I'm scared that she'll throw a tantrum. Smiling lightly, the others ushered Grim forward. We'll wait for you here. Because we don't want to be with you more than we have to be. Frowning slightly, Grim paused for a moment before heading in alone. If they were going to attack me, they wouldn't have brought me this deep into their territory. Walking up the steps and through the tree's entrance, he was immediately taken back by what was waiting for him. So you're a dryad? Yep. And you have the gift of prophecy. And you know all about devils. Ahoy. Chilling out on the tree floor and speaking to a large woman whose wavy green hair matched her plant-like green dress. Grim grilled the cheerful woman about everything she knew relating to himself and the underworld. From what he was able to gather, devils were split into 4 different rankings. The lowest being low-ranking devils, mid-ranking devils, high-ranking devils and finally supreme devils. Finding out that Zagred would be considered high-ranking left him feeling disappointed until he found out about the supreme devils. Not too long after that, he learned about the 3 rulers of the underworld, the Tree of Qliphoth, and what would happen if they appeared in the living world. He was even told about how the elven apostles of Sephiroth and the Tree of Life were the reflection of the Tree of Qliphoth and the supreme devils that dwell in each level. Unfortunately, the majority of the apostles of Sephiroth had died, with only Patry and the other 3 elves being what was left. And since they had all died early due to Zagred's plan, they never managed to reach their full potential and wouldn't be able to oppose the devils. Licht was the leader of the elves as well as the one standing on the highest level of the Tree of Life. Are you telling me that he could have been strong enough to contend with the one who dwells in the lowest levels? The king of devils, Lucifero. Of course. Dryad enthusiastically confirmed. With Licht's talent, he would have been more than enough to rival Lucifero if he stayed alive and was allowed to grow. What about me? Could I beat Lucifero? No. She immediately shut that down. While your talent is better than Licht's and your magic is the bane of all devils, if Lucifero appeared right now, you'd only be able to offer him your life. But there's no need to worry. Your kinfolk will help you prepare. As if on cue, Patry and the other elves walked in, with Patry taking the lead. Nodding towards the dryad, he looked at Grim and stepped forward. While you may be strong right now, you don't know how to properly use that power of yours. So from now until you leave, the 4 of us will be charged with helping you learn how to utilize that power to its fullest. Chapter 178, The Final Months. Month 4 and 5. For the next 2 months, Grim's entire life revolved around his training with the elves. Learning how to fully maximize the elven power within him and bring forth its full might, his speed, strength and techniques increased at a rate that left the other elves stunned. Combined with the beast physique that toughened his body, increased adaptability and sped his natural healing ability, he was able to push himself to the limit on several occasions. Now decked out in an outfit similar to what Patry wore during his time as a dark elf, he'd spend his mornings maximizing his combat ability by having daily sparring matches with Veto and Ryui. In reality, he was just letting them hit him with their magic in order to grow the number of spells in his grimoire before beating them down. And thanks to Ryui's copy magic, he had essentially found a way to glitch the system. In time, the descendants of Licht caught wind of the training and came to watch the matches themselves. Having never actually spoken to this new half-elf that had recently arrived, they were quite curious as to what he could do. In the evenings he would train with Fana on how to fight like an elf and deepen his understanding of his own spells. Having spent his time around nothing but humans, Grim's application of magic was very basic and straightforward. The closest he had ever gotten to fighting like an elf was against Gaja, where he created his own variation on the thunderclap and flash spell. But even Fana was surprised to learn that his mana wastage could drop to 0 and that the power of his spells stayed consistent without deviation. Even Licht wasn't fully capable of that. By the time night rolled around, he'd train with Patry and got used to fighting someone who possessed negative mana. Although he was no longer a dark elf, Patry still retained the power and spells from the form. Sitting on a large branch and ignoring the children below, Grim body was brimmed with strength and vitality. Compared to how he was 2 months prior, the current him felt much more in tune with both himself and the world. It was to the point that unless someone was paying close attention to him they wouldn't be able to sense any mana fluctuations at all. It was almost like he had completely become one with nature itself. And as a result of daily muscle training with Veto, his muscles had become much more defined despite his overall figure not changing too much. Breathing out lightly, he played with his hair that had now grown long enough to reach his shoulders. I should cut this when I get a chance. Unlike Licht and Patry who seemed to have a fetish for long hair, Grim found it quite annoying and messy for his liking. Standing up and stretching, he looked beyond the horizon and towards to Clover Kingdom. It's about time I return. Month 6. After bidding his farewell to Dryad and the others, Grim packed what little luggage he had and raced towards the Clover Kingdom. Returning to his black-haired state, he marveled at how fast he had become in his base form. He was even faster now than back when he was using Thunderclap and Flash in his battle against Elfluck and Zagred. Flashing through the Clover Kingdom's territory. Instead of heading towards the Black Bull's base, he chose to go towards a different Magic Knight base entirely. Using his newly improved relationship with mana to hide his mana signature, he passed through several restricted areas and appeared in a lavish-looking room. Looking down at the sleeping woman in bed, he closed his eyes and raised his sword up high. But just as he was about to slash down, he suddenly found that his surroundings had changed. Attacking a sleeping captain. I heard you were reckless but I never expected this. Hearing a chipper voice echo out behind him, Grim sheathed his sword and turned around. Dorothy Unsworth. Sitting before him on a large pillow-like object, the lilac-haired sleeping captain gazed down at him with a flash of cheekiness crossing her eyes. Oh ho ho ho. She covered her mouth and giggled. You're much more handsome than the posters make you out to be. And you're even more youthful than I expected. Oh. Grins. Melting out of existence and appearing behind him, she stood on her tiptoes and gently blew into his ear. Is that a compliment? She whispered. An observation. He replied without turning to look at her. Disappearing and reappearing back on her pillow, she laughed in a playful manner and proceeded to lay down on her front. You're much more interesting than Charlotte described. Then again, her head is only filled with yummy after all. But that's not what you're here for, is it? Sneaking into my base, trespassing into my room and even attacking an official Magic Knight captain. If you wanted my attention then you've definitely got it now. Nodding his head, Grim looked around Glamour World before focusing his attention back on the young-looking captain. I want to borrow Glamour World. Oh. She raised an eyebrow. I heard from Vanessa and the others that in this world we're able to manifest anything we can imagine. She agreed. I want to borrow this place to train my abilities to their peak. Is that so? She said thoughtfully before shaking her head. And what do I get out of this? Before you came in I was happily training by myself in order to get strong enough to trap a devil here. What you're suggesting would mean that my own training would be halted. Yet. He agreed before slowly taking to the skies. That's why I want to give you something in return. You want to trap a devil and I want to kill one. As someone who beat one previously, fighting against me should give you some inkling of what sort of strength you'll need in order to contain one. If you're satisfied by the end of it, I only ask that you let me train here for 1 month. 1 month. 1 month. Did you know that in 1 month's time the 6-month deadline for attacking the Spade Kingdom will be up? Are you preparing for that? 6-month deadline. I think Noelle mentioned something about that a while back. I probably should have listened. Well, whatever. It's been a while since I had a fight with anyone anyways. Yet. Grim, you should know that I'm quite hard to satisfy. Het. Summons beast swords. Trust me, I've never disappointed a woman. Chapter 179, Enemy of the World. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Crackling with electricity and zooming around Glamour World, Explosions erupted all around Grimm as Dorothy manifested everything from giant flaming snakes, huge boulders, and faster than light speed level lasers in order to chase him down. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Dodging left and right, not a shred of panic could be seen on his face as he gauged just how real Dorothy's creations were. Are you just going to keep avoiding everything? What happened to you satisfying me? Dorothy yelled. We're getting there. Breath of the beast. Sudden throwing strike. Changing attributes and now possessing two jagged twin swords, he hurled both blades towards the distant witch. Humph. Disappointing. Stretching her palm out and letting it glow with mana, the space in front of her began to twist as a giant one-eyed cyclops manifested itself in front of her. Commanding it to stop the blades from reaching her, a look of shock spread across her face when the swords carved their way through the cyclops's neck and headed towards her at a dangerous speed. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Suddenly dodging to the side, a trickle of blood flowed down the side of her cheek as the swords disappeared into the distance. He cut me. Breath of flame, third form, blazing universe. Blazing universe, igniting the blade with flame magic, Grimm performs a downwards vertical slash. Oh she! Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Appearing above her without any notice, Grimm didn't give her a chance to react as he bypassed the decapitated Cyclops and slashed down with enough to force to break her newly created shield and cause the air to whistle as she was sent flying downwards. Take that you narcoleptic little bitch! Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Barely managing to create a giant bed to cushion her landing, she was unable to disperse the power behind the attack, causing the bed to cave in upon impact. Cough cough cough. Landing on the bed with enough force to break it, Dorothy pushed herself back onto her feet and wiped away a trace of blood that had appeared on her lips. Not bad boy. But you're forgetting something. Oh yeah? What's that? Grins. This is my world. And in this world, I am God. Asterisk boom. Spreading her arms out wide, a large amount of magic power suddenly erupted out of her, causing the air behind her figure to shimmer and ripple like it was made out of water, Gate of Babylon style. What is that? As if to answer that very question, out from within the ripples stepped several pairs of boots. He 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 he. Bet you never expected this. Dorothy laughed as several replicas of the Clover Kingdom's captains stepped out from the ripples. Howdy doody. Several clones of Yami saluted in a cringy manner. Okay, what the actual fuck? I'll cut you up. The clones of Jack all said in union, while the other cloned captains said something similar. Oh. Grimm raised a brow before eventually turning to look at Dorothy. You know what, I take back everything bad I've ever said about you. This may actually be quite cathartic. You said bad things about me. Breath of flames, Grimm style first form, unknowing fire. Grimm style unknowing fire, by using reinforcement magic and combusting a large amount of fire magic beneath his feet, Grimm is able to achieve a tremendous level of speed as he charges forward and unleashes a singular horizontal slash that removes the heads of anyone unlucky enough to be standing in his path. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Stomping down hard and making use of his enhanced physique, he compressed and detonated the fire magic beneath his feet. Bursting forwards at blinding speeds, neither Dorothy nor the cloned captains could react as a flame-covered figure slashed through the necks of several replicas and left a line of scorched earth behind him. What? Dorothy stumbled back in shock and disbelief. This is impossible. While I may not have their exact strengths down properly, these clones should be roughly as strong as the captains were during our Captain vs Captain tournament 5 months ago. For them to be unable to react. Just how strong has this boy become? Exhaling lightly, wisps of flames clung to Grimm's clothes as he lowered his sword and slowly turned to look at the remaining clones. Asterisk grins. Asterisk. Seeing that smile, a sudden chill went down Dorothy's spine as she looked at the remaining clones and yelled. Attack! Fire spirit magic, Salamander's breath. Mercury magic, silver bullet. Briar magic, scarlet braided beautiful battle spear. Slash magic, death scythe, lunatic slash. Painting magic, phantom dragon Vuvra's shout. Dark magic, dark cloak dimension slash. Vortex magic. World tree magic. Facing the combined attack of all the Clover captains, the grin on Grimm's face began to widen as he took a step forward and Breath of Thunder, first form, thunderclap and flash rakery, eightfold slash. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Clashing with the physical attacks, Grimm dived headfirst into the chaos. Using his heightened perception via hyperfocus, even the cloned Yami's dimension slashes weren't able to touch him. Breath of the Beast, Fifth Fang, Crazy Cutting. Ascending high into the air and then activating this spell, a bright grey hue coated his figure as he didn't hesitate cannonball himself into the crowd and create pure pandemonium. Aic. Yurg. Yes. 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 Unleashing this spell to its fullest extent, several curved arcs made out of sharpened grey mana revolved around his figure at high speeds fast enough that it lacerated and mutilated the captains in spite of any defenses they put up. Unable to keep her food down, the sight of her comrades' disfigured faces and limbless bodies was enough to make Dorothy puke her guts out. Standing in the middle of all this carnage, Grimm ran around slashing his swords in every possible direction as he let the shower of blood soak his figure and dye his hair red. Ha, ha, ha 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 ha. Hearing the bona fide joy and jubilation his voice as he slaughtered the rest of the captains, for the first since leaving the witch's forest, Dorothy felt true terror. This boy. He's a monster. Chapter 180, Dream's End. Standing in front of a grounded Dorothy, the sound of her comrade's blood dripping down Grimm's bloodied sword echoed loudly in her ears. Looking at the bloody remains of what used to be her fellow captains, it took everything she had to not throw up again. But while she was busy trying to keep her food down, Grimm's felt nothing but satisfaction over his actions. Although he didn't know how strong the captains that Dorothy created were in comparison to the real things, outside of Charlotte. The fact that he was able to unleash himself on them was very therapeutic. For a long time he had strived to reach the level of the captains. Excluding the first time he entered his elf form, he finally felt like he had surpassed them. And best thing yet, he had done it without needing to transform. These 5 months weren't spent in vain. Solidifying his foundations in the Grand Magic Zone. Reawakening his lost power in the Witch's Forest. Learning how to properly wield that power alongside the elves. It had all meant something. Now all he needed to do was develop his power in a way that suited him best. And Glamour World was the perfect place to do it. So after getting Dorothy to admit her loss, he had her teach him the basics of how Glamour World worked. Remember not to fall asleep. If you do you'll die. Rolling his eyes, he quickly ushered her out impatient to get started. Okay, I'm going. I'll be back to check on you in a couple of days. Snapping her fingers and vanishing from sight, Grimm was left all alone in Glamour World. Using his hyper-focus to confirm her departure, he looked off into the distance and closed his eyes. Moments later he opened them back up and came face to face with 5 copies of himself. Grins. Let the training begin. -3 weeks later. Hey Grimm. Entering Glamour World for the first time since their battle, a mentally recovered Dorothy expected to see a sleep-depraved Grimm either on the verge of passing out or already dead. But nothing could have prepared her for what she saw next. Asterisk crack. Asterisk. Cracks. Cracks all over Glamour World. What is this? Glamour World. It's falling apart. And in the center of it all stood a silent white-haired Grimm whose hair was slowly returning back to its original color. Surrounded by mountains upon mountains of white-haired clones of himself, if one looked closer they could even see a graveyard of swords scattered all over the area. Flame swords. Beast swords. Thunder swords. Mist swords. Wind swords. Storm blades. And many more. What do you want, Dorothy? A deep voice emanated from him as he stood with his back turned to her. He's tired. Glamour World. She began. Glamour World. He paused and looked at the cracked sky. He nodded and continued. They started appearing last week. Seems to be related to the amount of power I output. Wasn't too bad at the start. But it became quite annoying during this past week. Couldn't even complete my original training because I had to restrain my power too much. Restrain his power? Are you telling me that Glamour World can no longer contain him? It was just as she thought. The more power Grimm unleashed here, the less stable the space became. It got so bad that he couldn't use his solo union magic or else the space would completely collapse. Alas, he went back to mastering his basics. Realizing that this was a problem for her, Dorothy wanted to hurry and fix Glamour World as fast as she could. Unfortunately she couldn't do it with him in here. With no other choice, she had to convince him to leave. Knowing that he would protest by saying that his training hadn't finished yet, she told him that he wouldn't be able to continue his training if Glamour World completely collapsed. But before letting him go, she gave him an offhand suggestion. The Triumph is gonna start in a couple of days. Why don't you compete? Triumph. He frowned, finding the name unfamiliar. What's that? Hearing that, Dorothy was momentarily stunned as she looked at him with doubt in her eyes. You don't know about the Triumph? Are you sure you're from the Clover Kingdom? Seeing that he wasn't going to reply, she sighed and continued. The Triumph is a fighting tournament held every 10 years. With your strength, winning shouldn't be too hard. Pass. He immediately rejected. What? Why? Are the captains gonna compete? No. Then it's a waste of my time. I'd rather sleep instead. Remembering that Grimm hadn't slept in 3 weeks and had only survived off Glamour World's ability to conjure up food and water, she understood that the temptation of rest far exceeded what the Triumph could offer him. How long have I been in here? He asked. 3 weeks. Almost time for the 6 months deadline to end. He nodded, remembering his original intention for training in the first place. Having gotten the information he needed, he prepared to head out. But before he left, he took advantage of Glamour World's unique laws to spawn out a set of clothes. Taking inspiration from his fractured memories of Earth, he had Glamour World conjure up a modernized Japanese ex-Western outfit. This consisted of a short black jacket decorated with golden kanji on the right sleeve and a gold-colored black bowl on the back. A lightweight ragged purple coat underneath and black under armor. By the time he was done, he left Glamour World and headed towards the nearest inn. Luckily for the owners, he had also conjured up some money before he left. Entering his room, he let out a loud yawn. Time to get some sleep. After 3 weeks of consistently fighting against his own clones, the fatigue had finally caught up to him and forced his eyes closed the moment his head touched the pillow. Chapter 181, Triumph. The Triumph Arena. And the first mage to step into the arena is the newly crowned vice-captain of the Golden Dawn. Please give a warm welcome to the one and only Yuno. Hoo-hoo. We love you, Yuno. You're the best. Go go go. Walking out from his corner of the arena and decked out in a longer Golden Dawn squad robe, the light of the sun bathed Yuno in its warm rays as he approached the tournament stage. Paying no heed to the cheers coming from the audience, his focus laid solely on participating in the Triumph. Come on, Asta, I know you wouldn't miss this for the world. What a reaction! Up in the audience, Luck, Vanessa, and a couple of the other Black Bulls watched the stage with varying degrees of interest spreading among them. Well, what would you expect from everybody's pretty boy? Most of the people in the audience only came because they heard that he was participating. If only Asta was here. Noelle sighed. Yet. Magna agreed. Too bad he's still exiled because of that magic parliament crap. Speaking of people not being here, have any of you heard from Grimm yet? Vanessa popped up. It had been close to 6 months since the group had last heard from him. The only thing they knew was that he had rescued Marie from a group of masked weirdos before completely vanishing from the face of the planet. The only person who didn't seem to be worried about his sudden disappearance was Yami. According to him, Grimm would show up when he felt like he was ready to. And that was the end of that. Sigh. Where did you go, Grimm? And in the next corner and facing Yuno in the first round of this triumphant tournament is the masked man. Walking out from the opposite end of the arena, a masked figure covered in a hooded brown robe approached the stage and only stopped when he stood face to face with Yuno. Hat. The two gave each other a knowing smile. And now. Class began. The Triumph will officially commence. Our first round is Yuno versus the masked man. Begin. Ding, ding, ding. Once the go-ahead had been given, Yuno didn't hesitate to open his grimoire and wrap his hand in a whirlwind of strong wind magic. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Firing it off at the masked figure, the speed of the attack caused a loud boom to ring out as the masked man lowered his stance and tucked his hand into his robe. Asterisk swing. Asterisk. Moments later, a large black sword appeared in his hand as he slashed it up towards the sky and split the whirlwind in half. Gasp. That sword. Asta. Whilst the crowd had completely immersed themselves in the battle taking place below, on one of the many pillars overlooking the Triumph, 4 hooded figures appeared out of the blue. It seems they've started without us. One of the hooded figures muttered as he pulled out a golden key. Pointing it in front of him, the key seemed to have been inserted into a keyhole that had manifested itself in the air. Twisting it to the right, the sound of something being unlocked could be heard as an ethereal door appeared behind him. The time has come, Julius. -30 minutes later. Sniff sniff. Is something burning? While Conrad and the other wizard kings were busy defeating the current magic knights and draining the mana from the kingdom's citizens, Grimm was peacefully sleeping in the inn's bed, completely ignorant to the mana being stolen from him. If it weren't due to the smell of smoke wafting in from his cracked window, he probably would have slept through the entire ordeal. Center of the capital. Standing on a destroyed piece of rock and overlooking the burning city, the pink-haired wizard king known as Princea Funnybunny commanded her near infinite number of legion magic soldiers to roam the streets and round up any of the scattered citizens. In order for them to turn their dream of a world free of class and oppression into a reality, the mana of the kingdom's citizens was a must-have. All for the sake of a better tomorrow. Comforting herself with that thought, she used a magic tool to project her voice throughout the entire kingdom and address any groups who had yet to be captured. Citizens of the Clover Kingdom. She started. Surrender at once and offer up your magic power as tribute. Resistance is futile. My legion magic soldiers will keep on fighting till their last bit of energy is spent. Anyone found resisting will be punies. Boom. Before she was able to finish her speech, the sound of an explosion going off in the distance cut her off and caught her attention. Following the sound of the explosion, a high-pitched whistling noise began reverberating above her. Raising her head slightly, when she saw what was causing the noise, she was left stunned. What in the... Her legion soldiers, they were falling from the sky. Bang. 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 Dropping from the sky like they were meteors, with every soldier that hit the ground a mini crater was formed in its wake. Even Princea had to be mindful to avoid getting hit. So you're the one behind this, hey? Suddenly hearing an unfamiliar voice echo out from behind her, Princea's head snapped in the direction it was coming from. Yawn. Chilling on the roof a destroyed building, a yawning Grimm looked down at the flabbergasted Princea with a playful smile. A teenager. She frowned. Was up as death. He smiled, finding her appearance bearing a striking resemblance to a woman from his fractured memories. As death. Princea repeated, finding the name unfamiliar. But what was even more surprising than finding out that someone had managed to sneak up on her, was the fact that she could barely feel this boy's mana. Different from the boy with the black swords who had defeated her soldiers in the Triumph, this one clearly had mana. But why couldn't she sense it properly? Wiping away any unnecessary thoughts from her mind, she turned to face the unknown boy and asked. Your mana, why can't I sense it? Oh. He raised his eyebrow, realizing what she was talking about. Yawning again, he decided to humor her while his energy slowly returned. Due to some special circumstances, my body has a really good relationship with the world's mana. While it wasn't at the level of Lick's mana melding technique, Grimm was able to passively blend in with the surrounding mana. A good relationship with mana, you say? Sounds like something Conrad would be interested in. What's your name, boy? Boy. Frowning at her disrespect, Grimm finally decided to sit up from his laying position. It's impolite to ask for someone's name without introducing yourself first. Is that so? Then I apologize. Taking her hat off and bowing slightly, she finally introduced her. Princea Funnybunny, a former captain of the Blue Rose Magic Knight Squad and the 11th Wizard King of the Clover Kingdom. Did you just say Wizard King? His eyes went wide in surprise before the corners of his lips started curling upwards. Chapter 182, Legion. Suddenly entering into his elf form, Grimm activated Breath of Thunder, and with a single step forward he appeared in front of a motionless Princea. Oh! Crackle! Rakery! Swoosh! Compressing all that lightning into his sheath and then releasing it in a single slash, he felt his sword meet some resistance as it tore through his target in a single stroke. Or so he thought. Legion Magic, Blink Castling. Blink Castling, when activated, Princea can instantly switch places with one of her magic soldiers, enabling her to dodge attacks and to place herself in a more advantageous position. And moments before Grimm's sword had cut through her, Princea had activated Blink Castling and swapped places with one of her many soldiers. Grins. So that's how it is. Seeing one of her soldiers in place of the female Wizard King, Grimm immediately located her with his hyper-focus. Magic Tool Research Lab Branch 0. After beating Asta, Noel, and Finral upon their entrance to the deepest part of the research facility, Conrad began using Marx's memory magic to list off their identities and magical attributes. Memory magic, it makes it quite easy to see what other people have experienced. Now invading another person's privacy is a bit distasteful, but it did allow me to locate this place, so I guess I can ignore that bit for now. As for how to use this magic properly, let me show you. Almost catching the words in his mouth, Conrad opened up various screens displaying what was currently happening in the capital in real time. But what he didn't account for was seeing a certain someone. Grim of the Black Bulls. He muttered, seeing a familiar face from Marx's memory magic. Although the hair color was different and his eyes were glowing, there was no way he'd confuse that face. A troublesome boy indeed, but nothing that Princia can't handle. Capital. Blink castling. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Blink castling. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Blink castling. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. As the two engaged in a game of cat and mouse, their battle had taken them all over the capital, as many of Princia's legion soldiers were placed all over the kingdom. But what she couldn't figure out was how he was able to find her so quickly. No matter how far she went, he was there moments later. If it weren't so intriguing, it'd be creepy. While your response may be fast, you'll never be able to catch me with that level of speed. Is that so? He grinned and started raising his mana output. Then try this out for your size. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Feeling a sudden change in the world's mana, the sky seemed to grow much darker as a bunch of storm clouds began gathering above the two. What in the world? Breath of the storm. Suddenly feeling a sense of crisis, Princia was forced to jump back as a thick bolt of lightning descended from the sky and slammed into Grimm's figure. Breath of the storm, 4th form, Storm Chaser. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Bursting out of the dust cloud that had formed after being hit with lightning, Grimm, now bearing his storm guard, flashed above Princia and slashed down. Breath of the storm, 1st form, Heaven's Fall. Storm Guard, an automatic form activated upon using Breath of the Storm. By grafting black storm clouds and vein-like lightning onto himself, Grimm is able to protect and utilize this power to its fullest without it wrecking his body. By combining the speed of Breath of Thunder and the Breath of Wind ability to negate air resistance and its enhanced agility, Grimm gained a level of speed far beyond that of a regular thunderclap and flash. Blink castling. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Like I said before, with that level of speed you'll never. Clink. Before she was able to finish that sentence, she realized that her Wizard King medal had been scratched. When did he? Looks like my speed is beginning to catch up after all. A mere fluke. She replied. We'll see. Storm Chaser. Blink castling. Storm Chaser. Blink castling. As the two continued their game, more and more cuts began appearing on Princia's clothes as she was forced to finally unsheath her own sword. Clashing their blades against the other in a flurry of high-intensity collisions, the pure amount of force produced from their swings were strong enough to create shockwaves and enough to blow away the crumbling houses around them. More. Asterisk clang. Asterisk. More. Asterisk clang. Muri. Asterisk clang. Asterisk. With each strike he made, the power behind Grimm's swings seemed to increase as he slowly got faster and faster. Tchhhhh. Princia gritted her teeth, feeling a slight numbness begin to spread through her arms. What monstrous physical strength! More. But this. More. Is. More. Exciting. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Casting blink castling while using her swordsmanship to fend him off, a sense of anticipation began welling up in her heart as she slowly eased up on using the spell. In the short amount of time she had been using it, not only had he adapted to her casting speed, but with his weird ability to grasp her location, using it any longer was just a waste of time. Even if she did have near infinite levels of mana due to Elsdothia, there was no need to pointlessly waste it. Condensing a large amount of storm magic around the blade, dark winds began swirling around Grimm's figure as he held the sword high above his head and slashed down with a heaven's fall that surpassed all the previous. Take this! He yelled, putting everything he had into this attack. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Watching as the sword descended upon her, a strange light flashed through her eyes as she realized. It's too fast for me to dodge. Ha, ha, ha 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 ha. Unable to hold it back any longer, the feeling of this incoming slash was enough to uncap the real Princia. With her grimoire spread wide open, the book started flipping through pages at an impressive speed as his sword finally reached her. Asterisk slash. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. But instead of the usual feeling that came from slashing someone, a loud metallic noise rang out as Grimm looked at Princia with wide eyes. Impossible. Standing before him and dressed in a full suit of armor, Princia's hand clamped around the storm blade. She stopped it. Even Zagred was unable to bear the full brunt of this attack, and yet. You said your name was Grimm, right? Hold sword up high. I admit that you're not bad grins, but you're still too green to fight me. Asterisk slash. Asterisk. Chapter 183, Warclude. Ha. Ha. Covered from head to toe in blood and bruises, Grimm's injury-riddled body slumped against the wall of a destroyed house. Ugh. He grunted, raising his head up to look at just how far Princia had sent him flying. Damn. Touching the large gash running down from his chest to his torso, his entire body tensed up from the pain as he tilted his head back and went. Phew, that hurts. He winced as the memory of Princia's sword tearing through his flesh replayed itself through his mind. Smiles. So this is the level of a wizard king. It's even better than I imagined. Grabbing hold of the broken sword laying beside him, he struggled to his feet as another rush of blood spurted out of his mouth. Ha, ha. He clutched his chest and grinned. Yeah, if you weren't at least this strong, then this wouldn't be fun. As if sensing his actions, Princia's figure started coming into focus in the distance. Walking between the broken houses and burning ground, the sound of her armored footsteps echoed out aloud. Hat. She grinned upon seeing him standing. Hat. He laughed back. Wiping the blood away from his mouth, the mana in his body began vibrating with excitement as a crazed smile crawled onto his face. Ha ha, ha ha, ha 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 ha. Round 2. He yelled, unleashing an ungodly amount of energy and summoning out another storm blade. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Exploding out with an unimaginable amount of mana, both the air and mana in the area began vibrating as his grimoire started pulsing with an ominous black light as its pages started flipping at a worrying speed. Feeling an itching sensation creep up on the surface of his skin, more and more black storm clouds began condensing around him and obscuring his figure. Princia funny bunny. A deep voice resonated out from within the dark clouds. Step. You're good. Step. Worthy of taking on the full power of the storm. Step. Now I hope you're ready for me. Step. Because from this moment onwards. Step. I won't be holding back. What the? Speed blitzing the former Wizard King and appearing in front of her with a fist wrapped in a chain of extreme lightning. He pulled his arm back and with a grin spread across his face, he buried it deep into her gut and unleashed the power within. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Sent flying backwards and crashing through the same set of buildings that she had sent him through earlier, Princia dug her heels into the ground and gripped her stomach as she forcibly came to a stop and dropped down to one knee. Ha 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 ha. Having feeling the wind being knocked out of her for the first time in years, the pink-haired Wizard King couldn't help but revel in the feeling as she threw her head back and laughed in delight. Walking through the wreckage that he had just created, Grimm's figure could finally be seen. Walking out from the black clouds that desperately tried to cling to his body, the dark storm clouds that had once obscured his figure had actually solidified itself and grafted itself onto his outfit. Fitting itself onto him in the form of a hooded black light armor with various lightning-like patterns spread all over it. He walked towards the distant Wizard King oozing nothing but pure, undeniable arrogance. Breath of the Storm, 12th form, Warclude armor. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Ugh. Raising her hands to protect her face from the torrents of dark winds rushing out of Grimm's body, the insane amount of pressure he was emitting just by standing there left her feeling both confused and full of expectations. So that's how it is. She laughed, feeling her own body slowly being pushed back. More. She growled. Show me more. Legion magic, endless domination. Losing herself in the throes of battle, her grimoire responded to this abrupt level of stimulation as it flipped to a specific page and manifested another circular chessboard followed by an army of magic soldiers manifesting besides her. By sheer numbers alone, there was enough soldiers here to wipe out an entire Magic Knight squad. But not even a second after they had been summoned, a black tornado filled with vicious swirls of lightning ripped through the entire legion, tearing the metal warriors to shreds and blowing whatever was left away. Lowering his arm, the page in which Grimm's grimoire had landed on spelled out the words Breath of the Storm, Second Form, Dark Tempest. As for what happened next, no words needed to be said. Seeing the wisps of black wind dissipating from his lowered hand, Princia's fighting spirit was ignited as the two armored warriors simultaneously pulled back slightly before turning into blurs and slamming into each other. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk ting. Asterisk asterisk ting. Asterisk asterisk ting. Asterisk. Deflecting her sword and dodging when necessary, Grimm saw the edge of her blade closing in on his face. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Holding the sword in a reverse grip and raising it up high, he blocked the strike with his left hand while dark winds and lightning surged in his right. Dark Tempest. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Thrusting it forward and releasing all that pent-up magical energy at once, a cascade of dark wind slammed into Princia's abdomen for the second time today as all the air in her body was forced out and she was thrown backwards with enough force to make the air whistle. But to make matters even worse, Grimm didn't let her go as he chased her down with Storm Chaser. Compressing and detonating a large amount of dark wind beneath his feet, he stomped down hard and rocketed high into the air. Heavens fall! Holding the storm blade in a spear-like fashion, the sword crackled with yellow lightning as he cocked his arm back and used hyper-focus to lock onto the moving Princia who still hadn't recovered from getting hit with a point-blank Dark Tempest. Got you! He grinned. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Feeling the power of the storm rage throughout his entire body, Grimm didn't hesitate to put that power to good use as he felt the sword leave his hand with enough force to easily surpass the speed of light and shatter the sound barrier while leaving a long trail of lightning behind. Princia POV. After being hit by that point-blank Dark Tempest and now finding herself closing in on the center of the capital, Princia had to admit that she was having the time of her life with Boy. His strength, speed, attitude, it was all perfect. If there had been someone like him around during her reign, how glorious would that have been? She could imagine it now, the two of them standing side by side fighting off the soldiers of the Diamond Kingdom and protecting their homeland together. What a life that would have been! Unfortunately, reality is often disappointing. Seeing a yellow twinkle suddenly appear in the sky directly above her, a single thought crossed through her mind. What a pretty star! And then it descended on her. Chapter 184, Court Jester. Oh! Sitting inside a darkened room inside the Triumph and monitoring the progress of their grand plan. Jester's eyebrow suddenly twitched as he sensed a large disturbance coming from the city below. Would you look at that, he mused. Seems like Conrad isn't the only one enjoying himself today. He laughed in amusement before turning serious. But if they continue like this they'll destabilize my barrier. He tapped his cheek playfully. Guess I should get involved. He smirked and got up. Buzz buzz. Jester. A white projection suddenly appeared in front of him with Conrad's figure playing on it. Conrad Jester greeted in an exaggerated manner. You're missing out on quite the show. Oh. Conrad's interest was piqued. Princia's going crazy down there. Jester explained. Can't see who she's fighting, but from the amount of mana she's outputting I'd say that her opponent isn't the type to go down easy. Frowning at the thought that there was someone out there capable of pushing Princia to use enough mana that it even grabbed Jester's attention, Conrad brought up live footage of the Nigdom and nearly tripped over when he saw the state of the capital. Freezing up, he saw a large crater filled with dozens of scorch marks and flashes of yellow lightning laying dead in the center of the city. The buildings that had once stood tall in that area had also completely vanished. It was almost like someone had dragged an eraser over that specific location and left it barren. But what in God's name could have done Thi? Grimm. No. He shook his head. There was nothing in Marx's memory magic to indicate that Grimm possessed such power. Unless... Scanning through Marx's magic, he discovered that the last bit of recorded information Marx had on Grimm dated back to nearly 6 months ago. Jester. He suddenly called out in a deepened voice. Jester's ears perked up. While I'm sure that she's capable of handling the situation by herself, to ensure that there are no unexpected consequences, would you mind giving her a hand? Huh? Well, it wasn't like I was doing much anyway. He yawned and stood up. But what should we do if he continues to resist? Falling silent and closing his eyes, he ran through Grimm's information once more before finally saying, do what's necessary. Grins. Gladly. Ha 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 ha. Laying flat on her back in the middle of the crater and staring up at the darkened sky, Princia let out a heartfelt laugh as Grimm slowly descended from the sky. "How old are you?" she suddenly asked. Pausing for a moment, he quickly calculated the age this body would be if looked at normally. 17. He answered, factoring in the last 6 months. "And you?" "Huh? I died when I was 22. Ahoy. Wait, what? Died? 22? Thinking about it now, he recalled that Julius was the 25th Wizard King or something. So how the hell was he fighting the 11th Wizard King? And can a Wizard King even be a woman? Wouldn't it be Wizard Queen? Is this person even who she claims to be? Finally realizing that he had absolutely no idea what was going on, all sorts of questions started appearing in his mind. But did that matter? Wizard King or not, she was capable of surviving his blows after 6 months of training. Just that alone was enough for him to not completely look down on her. And if what she was saying was true and that she had this much power at only 22, wouldn't that mean her potential far surpassed that of Mirola, who was in her early 30s? Round 3. She whispered before suddenly exploding out with a near infinite amount of mana. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Causing turbulent winds to start blowing everywhere, Princia's horizontal figure began levitating off the floor and upwards as an endless legion of her soldiers broke out through the ground and rushed towards the sky. "Well done, Grimm!" Her voice echoed out as she continued to rise upwards. "To think that I'd be able to experience such a thrilling battle again." While talking, her legion soldiers began gathering around her floating figure. "Yes. If it's you. You might just be strong enough to face me when I go all out." "Ha, are you kidding me?" Grimm raised his head and laughed. Watching as all those soldiers fused together to form a Megazord-sized legion soldier with Princia fused into its forehead, he summoned out another storm blade and pointed it at the giant mecha. "You're goddamn right I am." Grins. Grins. But just as the two were about to engage in the third round of their fight, an unfamiliar voice decided to interrupt them. "Sorry to barge in, but I'm gonna have to ask you to pipe down." "Jester." Princia's head suddenly snapped in the direction his voice coming from. "Yellow Princey." He waved with a big smile spread across his face. "What are you doing here?" she questioned, annoyed over the fact that her fight was interrupted. "Nothing much." He shrugged and looked over at Grimm with an inquiring gaze. "Just making sure that there are no rats scurrying around." "I can handle it." "Are you sure? This rat seems to be quite by." Flashing in front of the purple-haired jester, covered in wind and lightning, Grimm raised his sword up high and said, "Fuck off." Heavens fall. "Oh." Watching as the sword descended upon him, with a nonchalant expression on his face, Jester used his barrier magic to create a shield to defend himself. Unfortunately for him, the war-clued armor multiplied the power of his spells by several times. Asterisk shatter. Asterisk. Watching as the shield shattered in front of his very eyes, a sense of discomfort began spreading through his body as Grimm's sword continued to descend until it came into contact with his forehead. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Knocking him out of the sky and causing him to spin several times as he crashed towards the earth. The sound of a high-pitched whistle echoed throughout the entire area as Jester's body hit the ground with a thunderous roar. Jester POV. Ha, ha, ha. Barely managing to climb out of the pit he had created and covered in large beads of sweat. A wide-eyed and half-kneeling Jester breathed heavily as his entire body shook from the experience. What the hell was that? He cursed, unable to believe that someone who wasn't even a captain managed to put him in this position. "I was forced to kneel." "Me." Drib. With his eyes facing the ground, the sight of a red dot on the floor caught his attention. Raising a trembling hand towards his forehead, the feeling of a warm liquid running down his finger made him go quiet. Moments before Grimm's sword collided with his head, his fight or flight instincts had kicked in, allowing him to form several layers of barriers between the sword and his forehead. But if he was bleeding, then it meant his barriers couldn't completely block it. "Why you?" Looking past the last barrier and onto his forehead, a vertical cut deep enough to show bone and still oozing with blood could be seen. "You goddamn bray-a-a-ot." Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Roaring out with mana, the entire barrier surrounding the capital began to quake as Jester's grimoire burst open and what looked like thousands upon thousands of weapons began forming out from the shaking barrier. "You dare make me bleed my own blood?" You low-born dirty peasant trash! I'll kill you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you! He repeated, clutching his bleeding forehead and glaring at the airborne Grimm with pure hatred. Staring down at him, Grimm tilted his head to the side and with a smirk on his face he mockingly said, "You mad bro? Arg!" He shrieked. Haha, he's gone off the deep end. Barrier magic, voodoo regalia. Jester, stop! You'll kill Hai. Shut up! Jester screamed, losing his reasoning. Die! Throwing his arm down, the various amounts of weapons followed suit as they plunged down from the sky in a manner similar to Zagred's storm of swords. Het! Grimm grinned and raised his head towards the sky. Breath of Storm, 7th form, Dance of Storms. Asterisk fwoosh. Asterisk. 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 Combining this spell with his hyper-focus, Grimm's movements became almost ethereal in nature as flashes of lightning and wisps of dark wind trailed behind his figure as the barrier-made weapons stabbed past him, completely missing their mark. Yo! He called out. You can't aim for shit, hurry up and get good scrub. Grrrrrrrrr. Clenching his teeth together and snarled. If not for the fact that it would delay their plan, he was tempted to give up on controlling this huge barrier and directly kill Grimm here and now. Princia! He suddenly yelled. Conrad wants him gone. If we let someone capable of swapping blows with us live, he'll become nothing but an obstacle to the world we're trying to create. Only by working together can we guarantee that nothing can stand in our way. The world we're trying to create. Clench his fists. I understand. She relented. Despite feeling like she had finally found someone on the same wavelength as her, for the sake of a better world, she would go against her principles as a warrior. Legion magic, endless domination. With thousands of weapons falling from above, an unknown number of Legion soldiers rising from below and 2 wizard kings teaming up on him, Grimm felt like he had reached the peak of his life. To think in just 6 months alone, he'd not only be able to contend with a wizard king, but force 2 of them to work together to guarantee a win. If this wasn't progress, then what was? Chapter 185, Meet Up. Yes, 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 yes. At this rate they might actually force me to use that. Shaking in anticipation over the fact that he could be pushed far enough to use everything he had, Grimm faced the attacks of both Princia and Jester with a face full of expectations. Come in. Knowing that his current breath of the storm had too much breath of wind and not enough breath of thunder, he had to admit that while he was confident in beating someone of Princia's level, he could feel the limits of this form growing closer. If he wanted to improve its power any further, he'd needed to equalize the number of forms between breath of thunder and breath of wind in order to have a perfected union. But none of that mattered right now. Die, you bastard! Jester cried as both his weapons and Princia's soldiers were about to collide with Grimm's lone figure. Deactivating Breath of Storm and returning to his white-haired elf form, something about Grimm's eyes changed as he welcomed the attack with a smile on his face. But just as he was about to do his thing, a spatial portal suddenly appeared in front of him with a familiar voice echoing out from the other side. Grimm! A voice yelled out from inside. Finral! Hearing his voice, a hand thrusted out from the portal and pulled Grimm in moments before the soldiers and weapons collided. No! Jester howled as Grimm vanished from the eyes of both himself and Princia. Spatial magic here? That shouldn't be possible. After seeing it used earlier by Finral and that other spatial mage who helped Klaus and the civilians escape from the Triumph, he had already altered his barrier to interfere with spatial magic. So how could this happen? The area. Closing his eyes and using his mana senses, his eyes suddenly flashed open as he realized that there was something different about the mana in this area. He didn't know how they did it, but the battle between Grimm and Princia had somehow managed to destabilize the mana in the surrounding area and allowed the use of spatial magic in this specific area. But Princia and Grimm had battled all over the capital. So why was it only the mana in this area that had been affected? It was almost like something had stimulated the mana here. Could it be related to this crater? I'll need to reinforce the barrier. Golden Dawn hidden base. Ak. See, can't breathe. Finral. Seeing Grimm holding Finral up by the neck, the magic knights who had managed to escape from Conrad and the others couldn't help but freak out upon seeing Grimm strangling the only spatial mage amongst them. What are you doing? Stop! Charging at him with the intent to save Finral, the magic knights were in for a nasty surprise as a burst of wind erupted out of Grimm's figure and forced them all back. Asterisk bang! Asterisk! Asterisk bang! Asterisk! Slamming into the walls, the magic knights who hadn't rushed him were secretly thanking their comrades who held them back. Grimm! A weak voice caught his attention. Turning his head slightly, he saw a bandaged Asta standing next to a disheveled Secret and a slightly pale Noelle. Oh! This was the first time he had seen what Asta and the others looked like in the past 6 months. He wasn't impressed. Pushing off of him and using his demon slayer as a crutch, with shaky legs he trudged his way up to his white-haired squad mate. Ignoring the yells of the other magic knights who tried to dissuade him, he completely disregarded the pressure Grimm began outputting. Grabbing the wrist used to hold Finral up, Asta put as much strength into his grip as he could. Let him go. No. Having just faced Conrad, Asta's condition was good enough to face the others, let alone Grimm. He interrupted my fight. All of you know what that means. I know. Asta nodded. In truth, Finral didn't actually want to get Grimm. For one, he didn't even know if his spatial magic would work inside Jester's barrier. But under the pleas of the others, he kept trying to open one up without much success. It was only when something seemed to happen on the other side that he got the opportunity to get in. As for the other reason as to why he didn't want to get Grimm, well, the current situation spoke for itself. While Grimm was fine on most days, when it came to fighting it was like he'd become a different person. And depending on the type of opponent, he'd become more and more unhinged. But we need your help. Asta continued. If we don't stop him, Conrad's gonna destroy the kingdom. Conrad? Flashback. Conrad wants him gone. If we let someone capable of swapping blows with us live, he'll become nothing but an obstacle to the world we're trying to create. Flashback end. Relaxing his hold on Finral's throat, he turned to look at Asta properly for the first time since arriving and asked. Who's Conrad? Conrad POV. So he escaped. Listening to the report from Princia and Jester, the more he heard about Grimm, the more concerned he grew. While he was confident that nothing could interfere with their plan, the fact that a variable like Grimm existed was outside of his expectations. After having dealt with Asta and his anti-magic, he thought that he had a grasp on the power of the current magic knights. But for a 17-year-old boy to have the ability to directly face off against a wizard king, such a thing was inconceivable 10 years ago. Using Mark's memory magic, he decided to dig a little more into what he knew about Grimm. And what he found shocked him. Just like him, Grimm possessed a magic capable of using multiple attributes. He was also capable of combining these attributes in order to achieve a higher power. But even more than that, both he and Grimm had crossed blows with the kingdom's nobility. In a way, the two were incredibly similar. Ha ha ha. Sitting in silence, a small laugh escaped his mouth as he delved even deeper into Grimm's past achievements. To say he was impressed by what he saw was an understatement. Compared to the prodigies of the past, Grimm was on an entirely different level. If given enough time, it was likely that he'd surpass every wizard king in history. It was just a shame that he had to killed off. Unlike Asta and the other citizens he planned to resurrect with the imperial sword, Grimm and the majority of nobles would not be among them. As for the reason? Simple. Grimm was not a good person. Chapter 186, Burning Passion. Floating high above the clouds above the secret Golden Dawn base, Grimm breathed in the night air as his figure bathed in the light of the moon hanging behind him. Closing his eyes, his mind rolled back to his fight with Princia and Jester as he started image training. Just the two of them alone were enough to push his breath of the storm to its absolute limit. If he fought them again with the same level of power, he estimated that his chances of winning were about 40% at most. This wasn't even including that weird mecha form Princia had and the fact that Jester had only showed one spell during their encounter. But if this Conrad guy was just as strong as Asta and the others had described, he reckoned that he might actually have to pull out the other things he had earned in Glamour World. Out of the 3 things he had learned from fighting and slaughtering his clones inside Glamour World, improving Breath of the Storm was the one that he had spent the least amount of time on. If Conrad wasn't able to handle what came next, then fighting him at his full power was impossible. After all, his full power was the true result of his 6 months of training all rolled in one. While busy image training and thinking deeply about this Conrad guy, his ears suddenly twitched. Opening his eyes slowly, a glimmer of light flashed in them. She's finally here. Bursting through the clouds and moving at a speed fast enough to cause the sharp sound of the air tearing apart, a figure covered in burning hot flames shot through the sky and charged at him from below. Grayam! The orange figure roared in glee before the two finally met. Asterisk boom! Asterisk! Colliding head-on with the stationary Grim, an explosion of flames spread throughout the darkened sky as the corners of the flame-covered person's lips began to rise as she found herself unable to push forward any further. Raising her head up, the sight of a black boot surrounded by an orange hue pushing back against her fist filled her eyes. He's gotten stronger. You call that a punch? Grim's voice rung out as he looked down at the smiling Mirola. Punch? She scoffed. That was a love tap. Unable to hide the appreciation in her eyes, she pulled back slightly before elevating herself so that the two stood at eye level. A love tap. He smiled, feeling his fighting spirit being stoked. Surrounding his fists in balls of fire, he said. Maybe I should give you a love tap of my own. Though my love can be a bit heavy. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Hearing those provoking words, she slammed her fists together as a toothy grin spread across her face. I wouldn't have it any other way. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Flying high above the clouds, the two engaged in a flashy bout as the entire night sky was dyed a bright orange color while the two caught the other up on the events of the last 6 months. You cut your hair. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. It was getting asterisk boom. Asterisk in the way. I breath of flames, third form, blazing universe like it. Meeting his downward slash with a calatus brachium, an explosion strong enough to shake the surroundings erupted out. Forced apart by the explosion, the two didn't wait for the dust to settle as they stared at each other with fire burning in their eyes. Despite the cold air blowing past them, the pure amount of heat radiating off their figures caused them to ignore it as they simultaneously got into their stances. Grins. Grins. Breath of blue flames, Grim-style first form, unknowing fire. Bursting forward with an intense level of speed, the two were about to clash again. Secret Golden Dawn base. Should we stop them? Standing with the recently arrived captains, Asta and the others watched as Grim and Mirola performed a wonderful display of fire magic. Unfortunately, that display of fire magic was brimming with so much mana that it would signal the enemy wizard kings of their location. Clashing with each other yet again, the two continued on with their previous conversation as if they weren't violently attacking the other. Speaking swoosh of hair bang bang, you let yours grow. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. I bang was too busy bang to care, asterisk. Asterisk bong. Asterisk. Quickly breaking apart, the two clenched their fists and started ramping up their mana as they prepared to take things to the next level. But before Mirola could activate her mana zone and Grim his elf form, the two were suddenly stopped by the sudden arrival of the other captains. As fun as this is to watch, we have more important things to deal with. Appearing in between the two, the voice of Vengeance caused Mirola to pause before eventually extinguishing her flames. TCH, this is why you're not popular with women. Grim on the other hand wasn't so easily subdued. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Having already had his fight with Jester and Princia int erupt today, would he allow another one to go unfinished? Grim. Exploding out with an ocean's worth of mana, the magic knights below felt a huge pressure slam into them as they forced to their knees. Going directly into his elf form, the bright light in his eyes turned malicious as the flames on his body quickly transformed themselves into flashes of lightning. Ruumble. Who the fuck do you lot think you are? Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Barely managing to dodge a bolt of lightning coming from above, the captains all turned to look at Grim with a new level of seriousness. Oh. Mirola raised an eyebrow. This feeling, it's the same as the one felt back in the Shadow Palace. No. It's much stronger. Ha, ha, ha. Hearing his slow laughter as well as seeing the black in his hair fade to white, the look on everyone's faces suddenly changed as they realized things were about to get out of hand. Again and again and again. How many times will you people get in the way of my fun? Rumble. I let it go earlier, but it happened again. Ruumble. Why won't you just mind your own business? Ruumble, asterisk. Haha, I think I get it now. Raises head. In order to avoid situations like this. Smiles. I just have to kill you all. Creator's thoughts. Errata errata. So I finished season 2 of The Dragon Prince and got 3 episodes into season 3 before I couldn't take it anymore. I'm no stranger to bad writing, but even I have limits. I talked to a friend about it and he said that the Dragon Prince and Legend of Korra share the same problem. Unlike The Last Airbender that leaned into Eastern culture, talked about philosophy, real effects of war and spirituality, both shows are way too Western. Even worse, they're modern Westerns. Which means girl bosses, hypocrisy dressed up as righteousness, woke elements and straight up bullshit. So yet I dropped it and started watching Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And boy do I have to say the difference in writing quality is noticeable. It certainly lives up to the hype so far. P.S. The Dragon Prince really expects us to believe that one of the main characters, a 14-year boy without any special skills/traits or abilities, became the first human to use magic because apparently he's the only one who in all of human history has tried to understand and connect with nature. And if all humans can use dark magic, basically ripping the magic out of animals/insects/plants that naturally have magic, why the hell are there only 2 mages in all 5 human kingdoms? And why does that little prick Ezra, child prince turned king, have the ability to speak to animals? Where did it come from? His mom? Can't be because his half-brother, outside of bullshitting his way into getting magic, can't do that. His dad? Can't be because outside of being the literal worst king a thriving country can have, he's never shown to have any special abilities. So where did it come from? Fuck knows. And since this world is set in a fantasy medieval period, why would a king marry some random woman who already has a 6-plus-old kid? She doesn't seem to be nobility or anything. But what should I expect when the rulers of another kingdom has 2 lesbian queens who somehow managed to have a daughter, who is also a child may I add, who now is ruling their kingdom? Shit happens in this show just for the sake of happening. It's frustrating and makes no sense. Chapter 187, Counterstrike. After 30 minutes of trying to calm down an agitated Grimm, Mirola and the others finally managed to get him to chill out as they discussed their counter-attack against Conrad and the other wizard kings. Standing around a large table with a map of the entire kingdom spread out before them, the rest of the magic knights listened as the captains devised a plan to strike back. Conrad's mine, Grimm declared, ignoring the entirety of the plan without a second thought. Having already been denied 2 good fights today, he wouldn't allow it to happen a third time. Looking at each other, the rest of the captains nodded their heads in agreement. Thanks to Nero, the group had learnt the true intent behind Conrad's plan with the Imperial Sword. The original plan was to use Asta's anti-magic to negate the sword's ability while one of the other captains kept Conrad busy. But thinking about it now, with the little bit of power Grimm had just shown against Mirola, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have him tag along and help face off Conrad while the rest of them freed the other captains. The only problem was Grimm trustworthy? If they were being completely honest with each other, the answer would be hell no. But in times like these, beggars can't be choosers. So seeing that they had come to an agreement, Mirola slammed her fists together once more. Sounds like a good plan to me. She smiled and sent a wink in Grimm's direction. Very well. Vang Yin said, turning to face the door. Then let's get to it. We'll move on the count of 3. Everyone nodded. Crouched down in the forest not too far away from the captured Black Bull's base, Charlotte shot Grimm a dark look as she led the rest of the team. On my signal, 1, 2, thr. Thunderclap and flash. *vom. Striking first, Grimm transformed into a bolt of lightning as he flashed towards Princia's legion soldiers that were guarding the base. Suddenly, the yellow hue around his figure turned grey as he switched to Breath of the Beast and used 2 of his newer spells. Ninth Fang, extending Bendy / plus 7th form, spatial awareness. Grasping the position of all the legion soldiers in the area by feeling small disturbances in the air, Grimm's eyes flashed with yellow light as his twin beast swords let out a light humming sound. Condensing around the swords, invisible wisps of sharpened mana began forming as he slashed forward with extreme speed and increased range. Slash! Cutting through 2 legion soldiers at once, the spell didn't stop as it continued traveling towards the Black Bull base sealed inside a transparent barrier. Sudden throwing strike. Knowing that his spell would take care of the barrier, he flung his swords in a boomerang-like fashion and watched as they swerved around the barrier, taking out several more legion soldiers while he continued charging towards the base. Breath of Wind, 4th form, rising dust storm. *Fwoosh. Having located the remaining soldiers with spatial awareness, circular cylinders of sharpened wind rose from beneath the soldiers as they were launched into the air. Raising his sword up high, the green hue on his body suddenly burst into a blaze of fiery orange as he didn't hesitate to slash down and end this. Rengoku. Watching all of this take place from a distance, Charlotte and the magic knights that had tagged along couldn't help but swallow their saliva loudly as watched Grimm single-handedly do something that they were all supposed to take part in. Even Asta was at a loss for words. Clench his fists. He's gotten stronger again. Henry. Grimm yelled, walking into the base. Get this shit in the air, I got a king to slay. Black Bull base. Using Finral's spatial magic to shuffle everyone inside, Henry absorbed as much magic power as he could from everyone available. Transforming the base into its ship form, it didn't even take a minute before he took the Clover Knights to the sky. While Charmy recharged everyone with her cooking, Grimm stood at the head of the ship. Wind blowing in his face, he watched as they flew towards the outskirts of the Clover Kingdom. Apparently Conrad want to use the power of the Imperial Sword to detonate some mana lines? Mana veins? Some underground magic stuff to destroy the entire Clover Kingdom in one fell swoop. Not that it mattered to Grimm. Mana veins? Kingdom outskirts? He could be under the goddamn sea and Grimm still wouldn't care. Nothing was gonna get in the way of this fight. Aren't you a bit too excited? I could say the same about you. Walking on top of the ship and towards him, Mirola came and stood next to him. Have fun, she said. Ditto. No more words needed to be said. Strength? Magic? Power? Why would they ruin the surprise by telling the other? For people like them, discovering the true strength of their opponent was half the fun. Hey! A voice sounded from inside. What's that? Turning their heads towards the front of the ship, the group saw a weird blip off in the distance. What is that? Approaching even closer, the crew finally saw what was blocking their path. Impossible. Hundreds, no. Thousands of Legion soldiers stood in their path. And they say flying is meant to be relaxing. Grimm joked and sat down. You're not gonna get involved. Mirola raised an eyebrow. Why would I? He asked back. She's your opponent, not mine. Snorting loudly, Mirola looked at the soldiers in disgust. She's my opponent, not these soulless pawns. He nodded and lay back. I'm sure the captains will handle this. Grimm. Charlotte burst out from the inside shouting his name. Yon, what did you want, Blondie? Ignoring his blatant disrespect, she pointed at the 1,000+ Legion soldiers. What about M? Help us take care of TH. Nope. Excuse me. I said nah. I'm good. But. I said I'm good. He cut her off again. Give it up, Charlotte. Mirola chuckled and put her hand on the Blue Rose captain's shoulder. I know you and the others don't trust him to face Conrad. But if you and the others don't take care of those soldiers now, it'll be over before it's even started. In other words, fuck off. Grimm casually added. Frowning at his profanities, she sent him one last glare before calling the other captains up. You're really not gonna help out? Vangens looked at him and asked. Shrugs. Seeing him shrug, he turned to look at Jack. I just wanna slice something up. Lady Mirola. I need to save my energy for my own fight. Why is it only Charlotte that's reliable in moments like these? Sighing at the thought that the fate of the kingdom rested on the shoulders of these unreliable maniacs, Vangens jumped off the ship with Charlotte and Jack. But before he left, he turned back to look at the two. Can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm betting on you, Grimm. Chapter 188, Infiltration. Blasting through the giant hole that the captains had made in the metal army, the flying bull shot forwards, leaving the three captains behind as they flew towards the airborne Triumph. Listen up, everyone. Asta's voice resonated out from within the ship. I know that you're all scared. Hell, we're fighting wizard kings, it'd be weirder if you weren't. But right now we don't have time to let that affect us. In these next few moments, the lives of our captains, our friends, our family and every other person in the kingdom depends on us. So what we're not gonna do is fail them. We'll win this. Not because we have to. Not because we want to. We'll win this because it's our duty. We'll win this because we're magic knights. Yeah. Het. Hearing the cheers from the inside, even Grimm couldn't help but feel a bit excited from the speech. A king needs to be able to inspire confidence in those around him. But for what comes next, a king isn't needed. Steadily rising to his feet, the hue from Breath of the Beast went active as he stared down the barrier-protected Triumph up ahead. So that's what it looks like up close. Hey Grim! Astas called out from behind him. Walking up with Yuno by his side, the three stared at the flying stadium in the distance. This is it. Yuno said. Asta nodded and smiled. We'll definitely win this. Of course. Grim smirked. I wasn't planning on losing. Standing behind the trio, Mirola wasn't able to hide the smile on her face as they felt the ship shake from the ludicrous amounts of magical energy from the rest of the magic knights pouring itself into the flying bull's cannons. Fire! A voice yelled out. Asterisk boom! Asterisk! Asterisk boom! Asterisk! Asterisk boom! Asterisk! Crossing through the night sky and leaving different colored trails behind in their wake. The barrier protecting the outer layer of the Triumph was bombarded with the combined power of all the magic knights on board. Adding his own attack into the mix, Grim slashed forward with both swords. Not wanting to fall far behind, Asta and Yuno also jumped in. Breath of the Beast, 9th form, extending bendy slash. Wind magic, crescent kamaitachi. Anti-magic, demon dweller sword, black slash. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Not on my watch, you damn brats. What? Fire. Before the attacks could finish landing, a weird purple construct manifested itself in front of the barrier. Sitting atop the giant construct, a frazzled-looking jester aimed his finger at Grim's figure. And with a huge smile on his face, the face of the construct began glowing with a malicious red color. Ah shit! Asterisk boom! Asterisk. Shooting out from the face of the construct was a massive beam of energy that completely engulfed their attacks before slamming into the flying bull. Flying bull interior. What the hell was that? WW Wizard King. What? Turning their heads to the front, the rest of the magic knights finally saw Jester and the construct preparing for another blast. Damn. Outside. Next one's for you, Grim. Listening to Jester's taunts, Grim was about to take a step forward when he suddenly felt a hand hold onto his shoulder. Mirola. Let your allies handle this one. She smiled. Moments later, even more cannons started appearing all over the flying bull. TCH, get the hell out of the way already. Making his way up top, Ghosh's hair blew in the breeze as he waited for the cannons to fire again. Mirror magic, large reflect refrain. Spawning out a large quantity of mirrors, the beams shooting out from the flying bull started bouncing off of the mirrors in a diagonal fashion, quickly increasing in speed and lethality. Not expecting the mirrors nor the speed of the attack to suddenly increase, and definitely not to the level that it did, Jester was momentarily too stunned to respond in time. Idiot! Ghosh smirked. Asterisk Baya. Asterisk. Slamming into the face of the construct and pushing back against it, the magic knights pushed even more of their magical energy into the beam until... Crack! It pierced it. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Goo. Punching through the face of the construct, Henry didn't waste any time celebrating as he hit the accelerator and flew the flying bull through the newly created hole in the damaged construct. Luckily for him, the hole was big enough for them to pass through. See? Mirola sniggered. It's not over yet. What? Not understanding what he meant by that, it was only once the two glowing green doors shimmered themselves into existence ahead of the flying bull that she understood. How in the... Walking out of the door and floating in the distance, both Edward and Princia stood before the group ready for interception. Finral! Someone yelled. On it! He yelled back, thrusting his right hand forward and opening his grimoire. Spatial magic, Fallen Angel Gate. Opening up a huge portal in front of the ship, the flying bull charged straight through and appeared behind the unsuspecting Wizard King duo. What the how in the... Get back here, ee! Letting out an ear-piercing scream, Jester's eyes locked onto Grim's vanishing back. Feeling the small cut on his forehead throb, like a shark that had just smelt blood, he chased the ship down, unwilling to let the one who had wounded him escape for a second time. Not paying any attention to the screaming Jester coming from behind, Grim looked at the barrier, then back at Asta. You're up. Nods. Calling the Demon Slayer sword out and clenching at its hilt, he took in a deep breath as black anti-magic started spreading throughout his body. Anti-magic, Demon Slayer sword, black divider. Entering directly into his black Asta form and forming a huge black divider, he aimed the tip at the barrier. Thud. Thud. Landing on the deck behind them, both Princia and Edward stared at the trio. Grim. Princia acknowledged upon seeing him again. Hearing his name being called, Grim half-turned. Sorry Princey, but I'm not your opponent this time. Spreading out beneath the duo, before either had the time to react, both Zora and a sizable magic circle formed appeared. Have fun. He waved as the teamwork of Zora, Secret and Finral sent the two wizard kings away to unknown locations. Chapter 189, Key to Success. Keep going Asta. With Mirola and the majority of the Black Bulls gone to confront Princia and Edward, all that was left was for Asta to punch a hole in the barrier. Tap 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 asterisk. Running along the blade of the black divider, the sound of Grim's footsteps echoed out as the intensity of the breath of the beast hue grew stronger. Conrad. Breath of the beast, first fang, pierce. Stabbing both blades into the same point as the black divider, everyone watched in amazement as a large part of the barrier shattered into pieces like it was made out of glass. Whoa! Watching as the shattered pieces fell from the sky and dissipated into particles of mana, the remaining crew couldn't help but mutter. They did it. Unfortunately for them, just as quickly as the barrier had shattered it started to recover. Grrrm. Blasting past the ship and into the barrier, Jester's sights lay solely on beast sword-wielding Grim. Wind spirit magic, spirit storm. Asterisk foolsh. Asterisk. Unleashing a torrent of highly concentrated wind magic, Jester was forced to create a protection barrier and had to back off a little. You. Standing above him in his spirit dive form, Yuno turned to look at both Grim and Asta. Go, I'll deal with him. Nodding their heads, the two flew down towards the giant demon skull. Now then Spirit of Zephyr, show me what ya got. Asterisk fwoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk fwoosh. Asterisk. As they dived downwards, Grim couldn't help but notice that Asta was riding the Demon Slayer sword like it was a board. That's new. But this fascination didn't for too last long, as the sight of Conrad's lone figure atop the demon skull didn't escape the eyes of the two. You know the plan, Asta? Grim yelled. Yeah. Good. Get the sword, destroy the sword, do whatever you need to do. Just don't get in the way of my battle. Hey. Asta's brain stopped working for a second. That wasn't the plan. We're meant to face him together. He yelled back. Grins. Come on, Asta, we both knew how this was gonna go. Don't pretend to be stupid. Having no rebuttal to that statement, all Asta could do was sigh and nod his head. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Slamming hard into the ground and creating a large dust cloud in the process. Grim raised his head as Conrad lowered his. Grim. He greeted. Yo. He smiled, waiting for the dust cloud to dissipate. Raising his head to look at the airborne Asta, a flash of doubt passed Conrad's eyes. So you've come too. He muttered before returning his attention back onto Grim. I've been wanting to meet you for quite a while now. You wouldn't be the first. Is that so? Yep, I've got quite the fanbase. I shouldn't be surprised. After all, you are the boy who dares to defy nobility. Stand above the magic knight system and unite the commoners. In fact, if the circumstances were different, I'd like to have a long discussion with you. Alas, looks at beast swords, it seems talking isn't your thing. Nope. Very well. He closed his eyes and looked up at the stars. Then shall we start? Not even a moment after he had said that, what seemed like hundreds of green-colored gates started blinking into existence behind him. Key magic, Janice Abigail. Go. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Firing off multiple different types of magics at once, Conrad stood stationary and watched in silence as the untold number of magics rained down on him. Breath of blue flames, Grim-style first form, unknowing fire. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Compressing a large amount of blue flames beneath his heels and reinforcing his body with reinforcement magic, the moment he stomped down he unleashed the compressed flames and shot towards the heart of the descending magic attacks with a huge grin on his face. Breath of the beast, 10th fang, whirling fangs. Directly entering into his elf form, the bestial hue around his body started expanding and spinning at high speeds, causing whatever projectile attacks that hit him to be deflected. Conrad. 11th fang, sudden throwing strike. Pulling his arms back, he poured his elven power into his swords and flung them forward. Asterisk fwoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Rotating at high speeds and slicing through any attack that came near, the two swords were inches away from taking Conrad's neck. But would it be that easy? Using an unknown type of magic to teleport away, he appeared in the sky with a bigger gate beneath his feet. Using the same spell as before that given him access to the magic he had stolen, a giant dragon made of water shot down. Sea Dragon's Roar. Asterisk Roar. Asterisk. Landing on the skull of the demonized licked and skidding a little bit. Grimm's head snapped upwards as the hue on his body turned yellow and crackled with electricity. Gripping onto the hilt of the sheathed sword, lightning magic started pouring into it as he got into a lowered stance. Breath of Thunder, First Form, Thunderclap and Flash, Rakery. Unsheathing it in a fast and fluid motion, an arc of lightning magic shot out completely slicing through the dragon and travelling upwards towards Conrad. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Swerving backwards and watching as the yellow arc flashed past him. He suddenly felt a presence appear above him. Asterisk Ruumble. Asterisk. Breath of the Storm, First Form, Heaven's Fall. Slashing down with the war-clued armor on, thunder rumbled aloud as his sword slammed into Conrad's figure and sent him hurling towards the ground. Asterisk Bong. Asterisk. Crashing heavily into the ground below, the second stage of Heaven's Fall activated. Following his descent, lightning and dark winds followed behind closely, ultimately smashing into his downed figure and creating a fresh crater. Stop pretending. I know something of this level won't be enough to beat you. Watching the fight from a distance, Asta was completely stunned. After seeing what he did during their Black Bull base rescue, he knew that Grimm had become stronger in the past 6 months. But he never would have guessed he was this strong. Compared to the time he had fought Zagred in the Shadow Palace, his current Breath of the Storm felt infinitely stronger. Even if he couldn't sense mana like the others, the pressure that the form gave off was enough to make him understand just how terrifying he had become. Chapter 190, All Out. So this is the power that felled a devil? Impressive. Rising out from the crater with only his clothes being somewhat scorched, Conrad rose back into the sky and stared Grimm down. But if that's all you have, then you should give up now. Give up? Nah, that ain't me. If your magic is never giving up, then mine's fucking shit up. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Ramping his magic up to an extreme degree, he used Storm Chaser to close the distance between the two and engage in close quarters combat. Sigh. Shaking his head, Conrad raised his hand and formed a countless number of gates around Grimm. That's not enough. Watching Grimm dodge and destroy the projectile magic while racing towards him, he couldn't help but feel slightly depressed over the fact that he wasn't able to win any of the current day magic nights over. Why can't you people understand? I'm doing this for the betterment of everyone. I'll create a kingdom built on respect and joy. One where people can finally smile and cherish those around them. Are you really going to stand in the way of such a utopia? I will create a world where everyone can be happy. A world where your station isn't dependent on what family you were born into. A world where people are free to give it a rest already, damn it. Charging through the attacks while using Dance of Stroms to dodge, lightning and dark winds trailed closely behind him. You keep spouting this shit about creating a newer, better world. Talking about things like good and evil? Right and wrong? I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. All that matters is what we do right here, right now. I'm fighting you, Conrad. Not for the sake of this country, not for its people, and not because of your ideology. I'm fighting for the sole purpose of beating you. I'm fighting you to prove that I'm stronger. That I'm the best. That not only can I stand above you, but I will. So cut this peace and love bullshit out and fight, motherfucker. Breath of the Storm, Second Form, Dark Tempest, All Out. Releasing a huge tornado out from the inside of his body, whirls of dark winds and flashes of yellow lightning spread throughout the entire area. Crashing into several gates and completely obliterating them in turn, the destroyed gates turned into wisps of dissipating mana vanishing from sight. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Bursting out of the tornado and breaking through encirclement, he shattered several keys that held the stolen magic of Noel and several others as he charged straight at Conrad. I was mistaken. Badum. After hearing his reasons for standing against him, the expression on Conrad's face became twisted as he showed an expression of pure disgust. I thought that Marx's memory magic might have been a bit biased in the way that it presented you. Badum. Lowering his head so that his face was hidden in darkness, a dark and cold voice escaped his mouth. But now I realize. Badum. It was I who was wrong. Removing his overcoat and baring his naked upper body to the world. The pages in his grimoire started fluttering frantically as the remaining gates and keys began revolving around his figure. For that mistake. Asterisk badum. Asterisk. I will no longer hold back. Asterisk baya. Asterisk. Suddenly shooting out of the gates, the stolen magic held behind those doors latched onto his figure and burrowed their way deep into his body. Turning his limbs into various colors, a multicolored halo-like symbol appeared on his back. He's combining and storing the magic from those gates inside his body. Watching all of this take place through his hyper-focus, Grimm couldn't help but realize just how similar this technique was to his own solo union. The only difference was that Conrad seemed to be able to combine more elements than himself. Ha, ha, ha 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 ha. Unable to hold it back, an unfiltered heartfelt laughter burst out of his mouth as he continued shooting towards Conrad with renewed interest. Letting the transformation carry on, Conrad's voice continued as the gap between the two shortened at an astonishing pace. You're selfish. Right side turns orange. Egotistical. Left side turns green. Self-centered. Hair turns white. Narcissistic. Green patch turns yellow. Vain. Summons sword. And unworthy. So what? Asterisk Klea. Asterisk. Slamming into his figure and slashing down on the newly created sword. The two swords locked together as Grimm's voice started firing out without stop. So what if I'm selfish? Asterisk clang. Asterisk asterisk clang. Asterisk. So what if I'm vain? Asterisk clang. Asterisk asterisk clang. Asterisk. So what if I'm egotistical? Asterisk clang. Asterisk asterisk clang. Asterisk. I'll stand at the top. Asterisk clang. Asterisk asterisk clang. Asterisk. I'll be whatever I want to be. Asterisk clang. Asterisk asterisk clang. Asterisk. And you can't stop me. Asterisk boo-hoo-hum. Asterisk. Arg. Bursting out into a ball of flames, fire seemed to engulf the entire sky as Conrad was pushed back by the heat and shockwave. Lowering his raised hand, the sight of Grimm's blackened figure being consumed by the flames of his own magic burned its way into Conrad's retinas as he heard the words that would spell his out-doom. Beast X Flame. Breath of the Kitsun. Chapter 191, White Sky. Union Magic. This form of magic allows mages to combine two different spells or magics to create a single, more powerful spell. Compound Magic. Similar to Union Magic but more advanced, Compound Magic allows mages to also combine different spells/magics together, with the difference being that it doesn't have the two spell/magic limit. Integrating the combined power of both Breath of the Beast and Breath of Flames into his body, Grimm walked out of the giant plume of flames sporting white-colored fox ears and a traditional Kitsun mask hanging on the side of his head. Surrounded by a sea of white-colored flames with a white inner glow and blue outer glow, a beastly roar boomed out of his body as the phantom of a giant burning fox manifested behind him. Just like the automatic Storm Guard form activated upon using Breath of the Storm, his current appearance was the result of his body reforming itself into a state best suited to handle this type of power. Holding an Ikuchi, guardless katana, in his right hand, his body glowed with a burning white light outlined by a blue tint. His grimoire on the other hand also glowed with a bright blue and white light as its pages fluttered haphazardly before landing on a specific page that read: Breath of the Kitsun, First Tale, Foxfire. Disappearing in a flash of bluish-white light, he reappeared above Conrad with his sword held up high. Hey 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 hey. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Slashing down hard, a white fox tail sprouted out from behind him as the Kitsun flames danced alongside the body of the sword before ultimately submerging themselves into the blade. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Ugh. Blocking the sword by holding up his own in a horizontal manner, a flash of light passed Conrad's widened eyes. What in God's name is up with this kid? Although the strength of behind the slash was comparatively weaker compared to when he was using Breath of the Storm, the mysterious heat the sword gave off made him feel uncomfortable. Asterisk ting. Asterisk. Asterisk ting. Asterisk. Asterisk ting. Asterisk. Engaging in a battle of close-quarter combat, their swords turned into quick flashes of silver light as every clash caused bright sparks to fly out everywhere. Just. Asterisk ting. Asterisk. Die. Asterisk ting. Asterisk. Already. Asterisk tie. Asterisk. Moving around the sky in an erratic manner, shallow wounds started piling up on the two as they both displayed their experience and talent in swordsmanship. Ting. 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 Using his stolen magic acquired through the power of his key magic, the wounds on Conrad's body didn't stay for very long. Grim on the other hand relied solely on his enhanced healing factor brought about by having Breath of the Beast incorporated into this form to stay in the fight. Yes. This is what I wanted. Asterisk slosh. Asterisk. Slashing across the former Wizard King's chest, bright-colored blood spurted out of the wound. Aarg. Letting out a painful scream, Conrad compressed a large amount of mana in his body and combined it with the various types of magics stored inside him to unleash a destructive wave of mana in the form of an explosion. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Warg. Hit by the explosion and sent hurtling away from the shockwave, Grim gripped his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood with an excited grin on his face. He. Levitating in the air and breathing heavily, Conrad mirrored Grim's actions by gripping his chest at the area where Grim's sword had marked him. Letting light pour out of his body, the wound started healing at a visible pace. But despite the wound's healing, a sharp pain still coursed through his body as he finally realized why the heat from Grim's sword made him feel so uncomfortable. Having previously used the Imperial Sword to revive the other Wizard Kings, his knowledge on this type of power was quite deep compared to most. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Charging back into the air with renewed vigor, bright yellow light burned within Grim's eyes as he started slashing wildly. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Gritting his teeth and evading the blade to the best of his ability. With every shallow wound that made its way onto his body, Conrad's suspicions became clearer and clearer as he started going on the offensive. That power. Asterisk ting. Asterisk ting. Asterisk. It's doing more than just injuring my body, dash. Asterisk ting. Asterisk ting. Asterisk. It's attacking my soul. Bingo. Grim howled, punching him square in the face. In fact, Breath of the Kitsun was originally made with the intent to counter other fire mages. Specifically Mirola. While it lacked the speed and destructive power found in Breath of the Storm, it provided him an ability his other rarely displayed. AoE attacks. Asterisk ting. Asterisk. Asterisk ting. Asterisk. Asterisk ting. Asterisk. Locking swords with Conrad, the two eyed each other as Grim's grimoire floated into view. Breath of the Kitsun, second tail, burning Sakura. Sprouting out a second tail from behind, the sky was suddenly filled with falling Sakura petals. What in the... Gracefully falling from the sky, the appearance of the pink-colored petals suddenly changed as they turned orange and took on the appearance of petals made of flames. Sizzle. Having one of the petals fall onto his shoulder, Conrad winced as he felt another attack on his soul. These petals. They can also injure my soul. While not as damaging as taking a head-on attack from Grim's sword, the sheer number of falling Sakura petals made his brow crease. It was bad enough that Grim was relentless in the way he attacked, adding these petals on top of all of that, it didn't take a genius to see that he was being driven into a corner. Damn it! He cursed. Can't you see that I'm doing this for the sake of everyone? Why do you insist on standing on the wrong side? Asterisk bong. Asterisk. Arg. Sending Grim flying back with a single swipe of his sword, Conrad's focus quickly shifted onto the falling Sakura. But before he could do anything, Grim's crazed laughter echoed out as he held his left hand up in the air and grinned. Burn bitch! Snapping the fingers on his raised hand, the Sakura petals began to emit a bright-colored light before the entire area was suddenly engulfed by white light. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Erg. Detonating the falling petals and turning the sky into a blinding white mess, the screams coming out from Conrad's hazy figure mixed with Grim's laughter made it sound haunting. Asta POV. What the hell was that? Although his mission was to retrieve the Imperial Sword out from the skull of the demon, even he couldn't help but stand in awe at the power of the falling Sakura petals. Even from where he was, heat from the explosion tinged his skin. Even if it was possible to negate the effects of the petals with his anti-magic, if he took on those shockwaves from point-blank range, he didn't think he could walk away unscathed. Ha ha ha! Floating in the air with black smoke rising off of his body, A heavy-breathing Conrad stood hunched over as the physical burns on his figure began auto-healing. Pain. Pain, 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 pain. Even when he was assaulted by Julius and the other captains 10 years ago, he had never once felt pain to this degree before. The burning. The searing pain of having his flesh melted and soul burnt. It was too much. Way too much. What was he doing again? Fighting for the sake of the common people? For vengeance against the nobility that had conspired against him? To create a better world? Was this pain worth it? Ptha ha 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 ha. You survived. As expected of the leader of the Wizard Kings. I knew that wouldn't be enough to kill you. Now let's continue. Let's push each other even further and have even more fun. While the injury from his soul messed with his thoughts, the sound of Grimm's voice brought him back to reality. More fun. Ha, ha, ha 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 ha. Fight to create a better world? To get revenge for my friends and family killed by the nobles. Yeah, I'll do that all right. I'll do that right after I kill you. Chapter 192, Trickster. Losing his mind from the pain of having his soul burned, Conrad attacked with a level of ferocity not seen before. Boom boom boom. Destroying the landscape with every swing of his sword, nothing would stop him from tearing that fox-eared bastard into pieces. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Slashing his sword upwards, the blade glistened in the brightening sky. D. Asterisk grins. Asterisk. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk baya. Asterisk. Facing the descending sword, Grimm was forced to face the blow head-on as he held his sword up horizontally and took on the full impact. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Ha 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 ha. Blown out of the sky and sent hurtling down towards the ground, Grimm's carefree laughter continued to fill the air as he crashed into the earth in a less than gentle manner. Asterisk crash. Asterisk asterisk crash. Asterisk asterisk crash. Asterisk. Smashing into the ground hard enough that his body actually tunneled deep into the earth below. Grimm's psychotic laughter continued ringing out as his grimoire burned brighter and brighter. More. Breath of the Kitsun, first tail, foxfire. More. Breath of the Kitsun, second tail, burning sakura. Marie. Breath of the Kitsun, third tail, foxtrot. Standing in the sky and watching as more burning petals fell from above, the expression on Conrad's face warped as the humiliation and rage he felt morphed into one. Again. Raising his left hand and conjuring up an aggressive amount of wind magic, he prepared to extinguish them all. Conrad. Sporting three tails and manifesting in front of the many petals falling above him, Grimm's eyes burned with a burning light. You. Grins. Letting gravity do its job and falling towards him with his flames dancing alongside the edge of his sword. The hem of his cloak flapped in the wind. Seeing this, Conrad changed the direction his hand was facing. Just die already! He roared, sending a drill-like green tornado towards the grinning falling demon slayer. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Tearing through Grimm's body and punching a hole through the dozen of falling petals, the look of triumph didn't settle on Conrad's face as Grimm's figure appeared at the location of another petal. TCH. Aiming and firing again, the same thing happened over and over again as Grimm rapidly moved from petal to petal, dodging the long-ranged wind magic without his clothes being so much as ruffled. The only positive outcome out of all of this was that Conrad had managed to scatter and extinguish a large number of petals. Breath of the Kitsun, first tail, foxfire. Breath of the Kitsun, second tail, burning sakura. Breath of the Kitsun, third tail, foxtrot. Activating the three spells again, more petals began falling from the sky until it looked like the entire sky was filled with falling stars. Firing off more types of magic, Conrad's mind started analyzing and deconstructing the framework of Breath of the Kitsun. From what he had observed, the more he attacked and scattered of the sakura petals, the more Grimm needed to summon. But the summoning wasn't instantaneous. He seemed to have to start with foxfire before he could use burning sakura again. It was almost like there was an order in which the spells had to be activated before they could be used. It would also explain why he wouldn't detonate them anymore. He simply couldn't backtrack and resuscitate without starting over. As for that third spell, Foxtrot, it appeared to be a spell that allowed instantaneous movement to any of the summoned petals. As long as he extinguished the petals before the spell was active, he would essentially shut down Grimm's ability. Having reached that conclusion, he allowed Grimm to start the cycle again. Breath of the Kitsun, first tail, fox fire. Breath of the Kitsun, second tail, burning sakura. Got you. Swoosh. Infusing a large amount of wind and fire magic into his sword, he performed a horizontal slash that sent out an amped-up heat wave towards the petals, turning them into dissipating particles of mana upon contact. Unexpectedly though, despite his petals all being wiped out at once, Grimm still activated Foxtrot and somehow managed to appear in front of Conrad with his leg pulled back to the side. What? Grins. Surprise motherfucker. Breath of the Kitsun, fourth tail, rightful ignition. Breath of the Kitsun, fifth tail, blazeborn. Exploding out with rageful white flames, the beast side of Breath of the Kitsun went into full effect as those white flames buried themselves deep into his body, causing a huge increase in his physical strength. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Moving faster than he could react, a crisp sound rang out as Grimm's foot sunk itself into the right side of Conrad's cheek, causing a mixture of blood and teeth to shoot out of the former Wizard King's mouth as he was sent sprawling out of the sky. Whiz. Breaking though the air at breakneck speed, his broken body cannonballed out of the sky and slammed straight into the forehead of the demon skull. Asterisk bong. Asterisk. Gaia. Crashing with enough force make the sound of his bones snapping rise to audible levels, several spider-like cracks began to spread from the point of impact and across the head of the departed licked. Cough cough cough. Coughing out a large mouthful of blood mixed with unknown chunks. Conrad's entire body creaked with pain as he groaned out loud. How? He stuttered, watching Grimm slowly descend from the sky. What? You didn't think it was only my petals that I could jump to, did you? He laughed, delighting in Conrad's pained expression before going over and pulling him up by his hair. But I gotta say, Conrad, I'm a bit surprised. The white hair, multiple elements, and now wielding a sword? If I didn't know any better, I'd say you were trying to copy me. Not that I can blame you. I'd copy me too. Thud. Dropping him, he turned to look around. Yo Asta, you got the sword yet? Appearing from behind them and walking over with a crystallized sword in his hand and an excited look on his face, Asta held it up for Grimm to see. Yep. He grinned. Never thought I'd ever touch something as important as this. How? Conrad winced again, ignoring Asta's mumblings. I got rid of your petals, you shouldn't have been able to jump to me. Conrad shakes head. Foxtrot doesn't just allow me to jump to my petals, it lets me appear wherever a flame exists within my perception. And with hyper-focus the range of my perception is huge. You mean something finally clicked? Yep, you done fucked up when you used that wave attack to get rid of my Sakura petals. To get rid of those petals, Conrad had used a Fire X wind-based magic attack because of the specific nature of both elements that allowed them to spread faster than other types of magic. But to think that such a strategic decision would end up being his downfall. The irony wasn't lost on him. He didn't lose because he was weaker. He lost because he was smart. Chapter 193, Doom's Gate. Breath of the Kitsun. A solo union spell designed with pure synergy in mind. Despite its current state that forced it into a limited spell cycle format. Grimm reckoned that once that limit was gone there would be very few fire mages capable of fighting him on equal ground. Developed during his time training with Fana and slowly refined within Glamour World. This solo union was the result of him learning how to fight like a true elf. Weaving every spell into another and building on what came before, the level of synergy far surpassed anything he had ever done before. With the revelation that he had ultimately caused his own downfall, Conrad stared up at the darkened sky with a blank expression on his face. I lost. I don't know how it happened, but I lost. My power was greater than his. My speed was faster than his. My techniques were better than his. So how did I lose? And to Grimm of all people. To that walking. Badum. Talking. Badum. No good. Badum. Narcissistic. Badum 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 badum. Psychopath. Badum 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 badum. I shouldn't have lost. Badum 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 badum. I can't to accept it. Badum 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 asterisk. I won't to accept it. Not to him. Definitely not to him. Haha, haha, ha 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 ha. Grimm POV. Why the fuck is he laughing? Did the injury to his soul turn him crazy or something? Sheet, might as well put the poor fucker out of his miser. Boom. What the arg? Suddenly exploding out with red-colored energy, Asta and Grim were blown off into the distance by the shockwave as the broken and defeated Conrad slowly rose from the ground and into the air with both his body and grimoire pulsing with dark red light. Gradually rising into the air bit by bit, whatever was happening to him seemed to also be having an effect on the world around him. Not yet. Just the act of him leaving the ground caused large gusts of winds to violently rip through the area, causing hurricane levels of destruction and sending Grim and Asta even further away than the initial shockwave caused. I'm not done yet. Outside of the aggressive winds in the air, countless numbers of cracks began tearing through the ground without pause. Uprooting large chunks of earth and soil wherever it spread, great chasms were formed and the landscape was being completely rearranged to the point that it was becoming unrecognizable. Ignoring the fierce whines and stabbing his sword into the ground in order to stabilize himself. From the very pit of his stomach, Grim let loose a belly full of laughter filled with nothing but exhilaration and expectation. Yes, yes, yes. I don't know what you're doing. But keep going. Despite having been basically thrown highway across the map, the joy in Grim's laughter couldn't be hidden. But while he was in a state of pure ecstasy, floating high above the clouds and cloaked in blood-red aura, the sound of Conrad's heart beating could be heard all throughout the kingdom as tears of blood ran down the side of his cheeks and his grimoire read. Forbidden key magic, Doom's Gate. Sacrificing whatever remained of his life force and all the magic he had stored by his key magic. A massive red-colored magic circle appeared beneath his lone figure. Oozing out a sinister type of aura, the scent of death permeated the air as a huge red-tinted door reminiscent of his usual green-colored key magic doors lay beneath the magic circle. Dyeing both the earth and sky in its crimson color, in the center of the red door a space seemed to open up. And from inside that space came a fucking meteorite. Looking up at the sky with an enormous grin plastered across his face. The sight of a big-ass meteor coming through the Doom's Gate had Grim's entire body tingling with excitement. Now a normal person would probably fall to their knees and say their prayers. But Grim? This is the type of shit he dreamed about. Facing a spell capable of wiping out an entire kingdom. When would he ever have the chance to face such a spell again? The devils? Fuck him, he's facing a fucking meteorite. Laughing to himself, just as he was about to make a move, something in the corner of his eye caught his attention. The Imperial Sword. Stabbed a few meters away from him with its crystalline blade rooted deep into the ground, the Imperial Sword Elsdothia quietly stood in its silent glory. Ha ha ha. And here I was prepared to kick things up the next level. Walks toward Elsdothia. Unfortunately Conrad pulls sword out. You're still not qualified for me to go all out. Boom. Grabbing the hilt of the sword and pulling Elsdothia out from the ground. A sudden influx of foreign mana suddenly rushed out of the sword and charged straight into his arm, quickly spreading to every corner of his body and empowering him. Descending down from the red sky, a bright pillar of cyan-colored light shot down and completely engulfed his figure, pushing back against the red aura surrounding the area. Standing in the center of the pillar of light with his eyes closed, he felt both his mind and mana connect to Elsdothia and the souls of the previous generations of wizard kings dwelling within. Walking out of the pillar of light, his bright yellow eyes as well as his white-colored flames and even 5 tails had all turned cyan blue in color. Feeling the power of the sword trying to burrow its way inside of him, he tightened his grip on the Imperial Sword and in a threatening voice he said, "You better stop." Enforcing his will on the relic and expelling all of the foreign mana out from his body and back into the Imperial Sword. The newfound changes to his appearance quickly reverted back to their natural state as he stared down on the sword in disgust. With his level of pride and arrogance, having his power boosted by any sort of outside influence was an unforgivable act worthy of death and complete destruction. Luckily for the Imperial Sword, he had learnt from Nero that the sword wasn't just a battery used to store the souls and mana of the past wizard kings. It also acted as a conduit that could release large amounts of magic power at once. If that was the case, with the Imperial Sword in his hand and his newly refined level of mana control from his training over the past 6 months, wouldn't it be a piece of cake for him to store some spells in there too? Chapter 194, Rising Star. Conrad POV. Is this it? Has it really come to this? All of my plans. All of my dreams. The better world that I would create. All of it ruined because of the actions of one selfish boy. My revenge. My future. Gone. Completely gone. Standing on the edge of sanity, more and more blood began pouring out of Conrad's eyes as he stood high above the atmosphere looking down on the kingdom below. If I can't save this kingdom, then it doesn't deserve to continue. Thrusting his hands forwards and infusing Doom's Gate with what was left of himself, the descent of the meteor accelerated as it broke through the surface of clouds. It's over, haha. Even if I don't win, I won't allow you to either. Breath of the Kitsun, first tail, Foxfire. Breath of the Kitsun, second tail, Burning Sakura. Breath of the Kitsun, third tail, Foxtrot. Breath of the Kitsun, fourth tail, Rightful Ignition. Facing the threat that was the descending meteor, Grim restarted the Kitsun spell cycle once more. Sprouting out 4 fox tails and using a similar method to the one he had used during the creation of the Reikari. He funneled both Foxfire and Rightful Ignition into the Imperial Sword, turning the initially crystalline blue blade into a burning white color. Here I come! Asterisk boom! Asterisk. Rocketing off of the ground and soaring high into the air, he watched as the falling sakura petals fell from up on high. Grinning to himself, he used the still active Foxtrot to jump even higher. Falling under the shadow of the meteor, from the viewpoint of the Magic Knights and the rest of the Clover Kingdom citizens watching from below, they saw a bright white light breaking through the clouds and rising higher at an unprecedented speed. This mana! Someone whispered, feeling that it felt quite familiar. It's Grim. Mirola POV. Ha! Ha! You done yet? Princia asked, laying flat on her back and surrounded by the charred pieces of what was left of her legion soldiers. Breathing heavily and also taking a seat, Mirola turned to look at her defeated foe and threw her head back with a big grin on her face. I could go a couple more rounds. She laughed. Smiles? Yeah, I bet you could. Suddenly beginning to glow bright yellow, Princia realized that her time on this plane was weakening. But instead of feeling annoyed or frustrated, for the first time in a long time, she felt at peace. Looking up at the sky and seeing the falling meteor and the bright white light rising to meet it off in the distance, she let out a small smile and a sigh full of content. Going out this way. It's not that bad. Finally realizing what was going on, Mirola's head turned towards the rising white light. Grim! She whispered before turning back to look at Princia, only to see that she had completely vanished. Yami POV. Having just used the combined power of himself, Nozel and Fuegoleon to perform the compound magic spell Dimension/Scorching Light. The 3 mana-drained captains alongside Yuno pushed Jester past his limits, forcing him to dispel the barrier protecting the Triumph and fight them with all he had. Unfortunately, the moment the barrier went down was the moment that Conrad sacrificed the magic keeping him and the other wizard kings in this world to the Doom's Gate. Sigh. Really, Conrad? He sighed, watched his body turn yellow and slowly turning into mana particles. And to that brat of all people. Talk about unfair. Grim. Go Grim. You can do it. We believe in you. As more and more people looked up, the same words began spreading like wildfire. Even those pompous noble ladies who had all suspiciously become pregnant around the same time closed their eyes and sent their prayers his way. Win. Grim POV. Bursting through the bottom layer of the atmosphere and soaring as high as he could, his eyes lay solely on the meteorite that was experiencing atmospheric burn. Almost as if he could see through the flaming pile of space rock heading towards him, he ran his left hand along the burning white blade, causing it to turn into a blinding white light. Breath of the Kitsun, 5th tail, Blazeborn. Breath of the Kitsun, 6th tail, Flare Cloak. Breath of the Kitsun, 7th tail, Red Sun. Breath of the Kitsun, 8th tail, Fire Thief. Exploding out with 4 additional tails and a Naruto-esque KCM2 style cloak on his back. The fires spreading on the surface of the meteorite due to its entry into our atmosphere began channeling its way into Grim and the Imperial Sword. I can do this. I can win. Sensing his approaching mana signature, a twisted expression formed on Conrad's face as what little sanity he had left finally slipped. Grim. Conrad. Letting out a final roar, cracks began spreading along the blade of the Imperial Sword as the souls within began burning up. Foxfire X Rightful Ignition. Activating the 2 stored spells and holding the sword in an airborne IAI-like pose, Grim collided with the meteorite. Soul Burning Slash. Asterisk Slosh. Asterisk. Breaking away from the sword, a monumental arc of blinding white light flew straight through the falling meteorite, splitting it in half and traveling towards the space-bound Conrad. While it continued towards Conrad, the remnant flames left behind by the slash spread throughout the divided meteorite. Escaping out of every nook and cranny, white light burned within before the remaining halves suddenly exploded. Watching as the arc of burning white light approached him, all sound seemed to disappear from the world as a small smile crept its way onto Conrad's face. It was unknown whether it was because he had lost his mind or because he knew he could finally let his dream die with him, but in his final moments in this world, he chose to laugh. So even at the end I couldn't stop him. Hey! Damn, this is kind of frustrating. */ Finally hit by the slash, his entire body was engulfed by white light as no sound could be heard. No screaming. No cries of pain. Just the echo of something being extinguished. But within those last moments of his life, seconds before his body and soul was completely wiped out, a final thought flashed through his mind. If I could do it all again, smiles, I'd also like to fuck some shit up. Chapter 195, Elsdothia. Watching the imperial sword fall apart and shattered in his hands, a feeling of comfort surged in Grimm's heart. Despite not using the sword to increase his power, he was quite satisfied what it would look like to use his Kitsun spells without any restrictions. Not bad. He chuckled, looking down at what was left of the sword. Unfortunately for the kingdom, but much to the satisfaction of Grimm, in order to use the soul-burning slash, a side effect of using a foxfire boosted by the power of rightful ignition on a weapon containing a various number of souls was that said souls was be eviscerated. Unlike the soulless swords that he created to use his spells, the imperial sword was neither designed to store spells nor be wielded by someone as destructive as Grimm. In fact, it was rather impressive that it managed to hold on for as long as it did. Of course, part of this was due to Grimm's excellent control of mana. It was unlikely that there would be another artifact in the kingdom capable of lasting as long as the imperial sword did. Slowly descending from the sky and deactivating breath of the Kitsun on his way down, he threw what was left of the imperial sword to the side as his fox ears and tails disappeared into mana particles and he returned to his base form. Whew, he breathed out lightly, landing on the ground. So that's what it feels like to take out a wizard king. Humming to himself and feeling unusually relaxed, he played the final moments of the battle in his head while walking towards an unconscious Asta. Yo Asta! He called out. It's over, you can get up now. Seeing that he wasn't getting a response, he did the Grimm-like thing and kicked him. Kicks again. Kicks once more just to be sure. Well, fuck you then. Seeing him remain unresponsive, Grimm sighed and dropped down next to him. Rolling his eyes, he muttered. Lazy bastard. Didn't even do anything and now you're taking a nap? Future Wizard King, my ass. And what the hell is up with those muscles? Did he spend the last 6 months in a gym or something? Looking at Asta's ridiculously muscled-out body, he couldn't help but wonder if this world had its own version of striads. But before he could delve into those thoughts any further, the light of the rising sun off in the distance caught his attention. It was only now that it truly hit him that he had taken a huge step towards becoming the strongest. While he knew that the devils were likely stronger than Conrad and that there could possibly be people even stronger than them out there, to him this win signified just how far he had come. From starting out as a lone boy struggling to survive in a forest filled with nothing but death and predators, he had risen to the heights of killing devils, slaying mad kings and uprooting a bygone race. If someone ever wrote a biography of his life, he was confident that it would be an entertaining read. Asta stirred. Grimm. He called out, slowly opening his eyes. Yo. He smiled, seeing his friend wake up. Did we win? Pausing for a second. Grimm. A voice suddenly called out from the side. Answering without turning his head, he said, Julius. Stepping out of spatial magic portal and bearing the appearance of his childhood self, the wizard king of the current era and the unique wielder of time magic, Julius Novacrono greeted the savior of the kingdom. You've grown. He smiled, marveling at the fact that he couldn't sense a hint of magic from Grimm's body. To think he'd reach a point that even I'm finding it difficult to sense his mana. Just what did he do during these past 6 months? He always knew that Grimm was special. Out of the 3 magic knights of the younger generation that had caught his attention, it was only Grimm that far exceeded his expectations. From soloing entire magic knight squads to defeating devils and now killing a wizard king, the potential Grimm showed was unlike anything he had ever seen before. It was practically otherworldly. If he ever managed to reach his full potential, he couldn't even begin to imagine what kind of monster he would become. Smiling at that thought, he couldn't help but ask what was it like fighting Conrad. He was decent. Grimm answered after a split second of consideration. Decent, hey? Julius nodded before moving on. What about Elsdothia? What? The Imperial Sword. Oh. Somewhere over there. He pointed, not remembering where exactly he threw it. But forget about that. He suddenly stood up and walked over to Julius until he was looking down on him. Compared to you at your peak. Who's stronger, you or Conrad? Seeing him tower above him, Julius couldn't help but chuckle and answer the question in a nonchalant manner. Me. He stated. Grins. Is that so? Showing off a smile that revealed all of his teeth, a light flashed through Grimm's eyes as he suddenly turned around and began to leave. Hey! Julius called, seeing him rise into the air. Where are you going? Turning his head to the side and flashing him another smile, Grimm left him with a single sentence. To Nunya. Undisclosed location. Walking through the capital during the dead of night. Several hooded figures knocked on the door of a closed pub. Knocking on the door 3 times, then 2 times and then 3 times again. A rough-sounding voice answered from the other side. He who stands above all shall stand above me. The leader of the hooded figures answered. Clack. Unlocking the door and letting the people in. The man behind the door led them behind the counter. Pulling up a rug off the ground floor to reveal a trap door. He guided them down to the basement where a cloaked man in a strange mask stood in front of spatial portal and greeted them. Putting their hands in their cloaks, the hooded figures pulled out various types of masks and placed them onto their faces. Walking through the portal and into a large cathedral-like hall, they were greeted to the sight of other mask-wearing people all facing an altar with a sword stabbed into it. Is that yet? One of the masked figures nodded, keeping their eyes solely on the sword before turning to his companion and smiling. Welcome to the Cult of Grimm. Chapter 196, Set Your Heart Ablaze. Days after leaving Asta and Julius behind, Grimm took some time to reflect on his battles against the 3 wizard kings. Looks like I can longer unlock new types of attributes by getting hit any longer. He smiled. Thinking back on how he was able to endure so much punishment from Princia's attacks, he realized just how strong his body had become over the past 6 months. Not only had it gotten significantly stronger, even his regen and stamina had been enhanced. He suddenly looked towards the distance, sensing a familiar mana signature. Grins. Cutting through the air and leaving a trail of flames in her wake, Mirola charged straight at him with a massive grin plastered across her face. Grayam. 1 day later. After arriving at Mirola's volcanic training ground, the 2 hotheads swapped stories about their battles with their respective wizard kings. But after a bit of catch-up here and there, the 2 could no longer hold back their urges and got into their battle stances. Your ass is mine. Grimm grinned, turning on breath of blue flames and letting that fiery blue hue coat his body. Oh ho! Mirola grinned back and raised her fists up. Then come claim it. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Using their distinctive movement techniques, the 2 transformed into blurs of blue and orange lights and threw themselves at each other. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. The 2 collided, creating a massive shockwave that shook the area. Grinning at each other, they coated their hands in blue and orange flame magic and began wailing on the other without so much as flinching. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Smashing into each other and swapping blows with their fire-covered fists, the speed and force in which the fists collided together was so devastating that the shockwaves it produced made it sound like hundreds of explosions were going off at once. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Dodging past one of Mirola's many jabs, a beam of fire magic shot out from her fist, shooting past his ear and blowing up a small hill off in the distance. HOH. Grimm grinned, clenching his fists even harder. Trading blows with each other, the clashing of such fiery mana seemed to stimulate the volcano as the ground beneath them began to tremble and huge pillars of lava began bursting out from the ground. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Hitting her with a cataclysmic right hook to the face, Mirola's body twisted as she was hit hard and was savagely sent flying off into the distance. HAAA. She grinned, feeling a numbing sensation spreading out from her cheek. Unable to hide the smile on her face, she dug her heels into the ground, forcibly slowing down her momentum and causing her to skid on the ground. Now that's more like it. She cackled, licking the blood from her lips. Clenching her fists tightly, wisps of mana fire magic began flowing out from every inch of her body and into the air. Grim. She called out, forcing more and more fire magic out of her pores and recalling their first ever fight. Smirks. Round 2. Boom. Asterisk. Unleashing a disturbing amount of fire magic grand enough to provoke a reaction from nature's mana, Grim was forced to shield his eyes and take a step back as blinding bright orange light poured out of her body and engulfed everything in sight. This is it. Grim trembled with excitement. This is the power capable of rivaling a wizard king. Letting loose a earth-shaking roar, the orange light bursting out from her body intensified as the words in her grimoire became clearer and clearer. Hellfire incarnate. Asterisk kaboom. Asterisk. Finally ending with a small explosion, a satisfied Mirola stepped forward, having now transformed into her hellfire incarnate form. Glowing from head to toe in a fiery orange, wisps of flames continued escaping her body as her body, face, and hair all took on the appearance of fire itself. Watching her step forward, Grim was more dumbfounded by this transformation compared to Conrad's compound form. This feeling. While both magic knights assimilated their magical attributes into their bodies, the feeling Mirola gave him was far greater than Conrad's ever was. It was almost like he was staring at mana itself. Unable to hold back any longer, his grimoire rose up next to him and shone with a bright bluish-white light. So what if he was facing mana itself? If there was one thing he had learned from watching Asta, it was that mana didn't equal strength. Grinning like an idiot and entering into his elf form, he let the bluish-white flames swallow him. Beast X Flame. Breath of the Kitsun. Oh! Although not as flashy as hers, the physical transformation of the Kitsun form was enough to leave Mirola feeling impressed. That's some good heat. Facing each other and grinning like the maniacs that they were, the passive heat radiating off the two of them caused a sharp rise in the temperature. Asterisk boom. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Simultaneously stomping their feet into the ground, the two shot forward at blinding speeds. Asterisk splash. Asterisk. Jumping through one of the lava pillars with a wild smile spread across her face, Mirola's fist burned with intense fire magic. Calidus Brakim. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Watching the burning fist grow larger in his eyes, Grim's center of gravity suddenly dropped as he slipped beneath the fist and slammed the butt of his sheathed sword straight into the center of her face. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Arg. Hitting her with enough force to send her flying backwards and through several lava pillars, he cycled through his spells until he hit third tail, foxtrot. Vanishing from his position and using the passive flames from Mirola's hellfire incarnate as a waypoint, he reappeared behind her with leg pulled back. Asterisk bong. Asterisk. Ack. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Connecting with the center of her back and feeling the full weight of her body on his foot, he sent her blasting towards the sky and into the heart of his still active and falling burning sakura petals. Remembering what he did in his battle against Conrad, he raised his left hand into the air and went boom. Snapping his fingers and with smiles so wide that it went from ear to ear, he watched as the sky was lit up bluish-white explosions. Third tail, foxtrot. Appearing above her falling figure and spinning in the air. He activated rightful ignition and blaze born together, increasing both his magic power and physical strength before finally hitting her in stomach with a spinning kick that sent her burrowing down through the earth and straight into an underground lava pit. Asterisk splash. Asterisk. Chapter 197, Raging Hellfire. Falling into the pool of molten lava. Mirola felt her body sinking to the bottom. Damn it! She cursed, sinking ever deeper into its depths. I'm going all out here and that bastard hasn't even unsheathed his sword yet. Damn him, damn him, damn him. How dare he hold back against me? Me? I'll show him. I'll show him just how much stronger I am. Unknown to Mirola, this was the first time in a long time that she had desperately wanted to become stronger for the sake of competing against someone else. Unlike her rivalry with Fuegoleon, who she had always been stronger than, she wanted to at least reach a level where she could stand next to Grim as an equal. This feeling. How long had it been since she had chased the back of someone else? Grim. She suddenly smiled and tightened her fists. You truly do shine brighter than anyone else I've ever met. Grim POV in the sky. Only 5 tails, hey. I thought she could have lasted longer. Standing alone in the sky and looking down at the place Mirola's body had disappeared to, he shook his head and turned away in disappointment. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. What the? Feeling a sudden eruption of fiery mana exploding out from behind him, he was compelled to look back. This mana. Looking behind him, the sight of what lay before him threatened to take his breath away as he stared. A huge pillar of lava big enough to engulf the entire area burst out from underground, bathing both the sky and his sight with orange light. Ha, ha, ha 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 ha. What was I thinking? This is Mirola we're talking about. As if this would be enough to stop her. Following the sudden eruption, a loud and primal roar reverberated out from deep within the center of the pillar. Oh ho! Grinning at the intent he could sense within that roar, Grim was unable to hide his excitement any further. Mirola. I'm ready for round 3. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Suddenly bursting out from the densest part of the pillar and racing towards him. She moved at a speed far surpassing everything she had shown previously. What speed? He said wide-eyed as she flashed past his figure and grabbed hold of his face. Easily surpassing the speed of light by multiple times, she tightened her grip on his face and without a hint of remorse or hesitation in her actions, she cocked her arm back and threw him head first towards the ground. What power? Asterisk bong. Asterisk. Hitting the ground with enough force to cause a minor earthquake, Grim's laughter continued ringing out as his body bounced up and fell backwards. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Appearing in front of him with a massive grin spread across her face, the burning Mirola looked at his slightly airborne figure and without a moment of hesitation, she hit him with a spinning roundhouse kick to the stomach and sent his body flying off into the distance. Feeling his stomach cave in slightly, he let loose a roar of laughter as he felt the wind whistle past his ears. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Letting out a shockwave and racing past his figure, she grabbed hold of his foot and began to spin him around before hurling him straight through one side of the active volcano and out through the other. Asterisk crash. Asterisk. Cough cough. Ha 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 ha. Crashing into the ground and barely managing to stabilize himself, Mirola was back on him within seconds. Sixth tail, flare cloak. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Activating his next tail moments before Mirola's fist could cave his face in. He used the enhanced speed and defense brought about by his cloak to blitz past her and put some distance between the two. He didn't know how she did it, but within the short amount of time she was in that lava pool, both her speed and power had skyrocketed tremendously. But from the way she was fighting it was clear to see that her consciousness had long since vanished and that she was relying on pure instinct alone. But the objective didn't change. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Charging at her with his newly enhanced speed, Mirola braced herself for impact but was caught off guard when all of his tails suddenly disappeared, only for him to sprout 3 more and use Foxtrot to appear at her side and deliver a devastating kick to her ribs. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Sending her flying back through the volcano that she had sent him through previously. He fall wet up by stomping down on the ground and launching himself high into the air. Kman! He yelled, suddenly sprouting out 3 more tails and racing down towards her covered in whitish-blue flames. Watching him fall towards her with the moon hanging at his back, Mirola answered his declaration by releasing a ferocious roar. Suddenly feeling the mana in his immediate area vibrate slightly, Grim's eyes went wide. This is Mana Zone. Activating her Mana Zone, sparks of light moments away from transforming into God knows how many kaleidosprachemes lit up all around him. Mana Zone, omnidirectional kaleidospracheme. Asterisk grins. Asterisk. 7th tail, red sun. Asterisk bang. Asterisk 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 asterisk bang. Asterisk. Hit with a barrage of countless kaleidospracheme beams from all directions, Grim stood in the center of it all with a small red sun hanging above his head. Seeing him somehow unscathed despite being hit by a range of near undodgeable attacks, Mirola's instinctual mind stopped working for a second as she couldn't comprehend what was happening. It should be impossible. Taking a closer look at it, she could see the beams of fire magic curving around his body as if purposefully evading him and smashing into each other. Red sun, compressing a large amount fire magic into spherical form. Grim creates a mini-tour sun and takes full control the area orbiting him, rendering all ranged attacks useless. She actually pushed me to 7 tails. She really is something else. Grinning like an idiot, he had to purposefully stop himself from using the 8th tail, fire thief spell lest he completely siphon off all her flames and end the fight here and now. As the two continued their battle, the intense amount of heat coming from their bodies resulted in the clothes they were wearing to burn up in the scuffle, leaving the two stark naked. Calidus Brakim! Mirola yelled, having regained her consciousness hours ago. Blazeborn! Asterisk boom! Asterisk. Despite their current lack of attire, the fight continued further on until the two of them found each other in a rather compromising position. Somehow managing to gain the upper hand and pin the lioness down, the two realized that Grimm's member was mere centimeters away from Mirola's entrance. In that moment, the only sound that could be heard was the eruption of the lava pillars, which became much more sexual the longer it went on. After about a minute of deafening silence, Grimm made a move trying to escape backwards, but unintentionally caused his lower sword to rub up against her untouched nether region, causing her to make a noise that he never thought was possible. Did she just moan? Taking a closer look at the lioness's face, he realized that it had become a bright shade of red and that her breathing had become hurried. Moving his sights down from her face into her abdomen, he saw that while she hadn't much muscle on that area, the amount of body fat that he expected to be there was practically non-existent. Moving on from her abdomen and onto her bushy area, it was exactly as he had imagined, wild. Pushing him off of her and sending him flying into the distance until he landed flat on his back. The look in her eyes suddenly changed as she jumped through the air, crossing the vast distance between the two and somehow managing to perfectly land on his raised sword in the smoothest transition known to mankind, while also causing a sharp spike of pain to shoot through Grimm's pelvis. Comment. For comment. Vote. Chapter 198, Burning Heart. 1 week later. Sitting completely naked on a chunk of burnt rock, a healthy glow radiated off of Grimm's skin as he yawned and reminisced on the violent yet passionate nights he and Mirola had spent together. Turning his head to look over his shoulder, the sight of her passed-out figure entered into his eyes. Seeing the tired but satisfied expression spread across her face, he knew that she had been conquered. Over the past week, the two of them had went at it like wild animals. No. Calling them animals would be to tame. Their actions were more akin to that of a predator and its prey. But who remained to be seen? Thrusting, sucking, punching, biting, mana zones, and explosions of every variety. Nothing was off the table. By the time the two had finished their copulation, the entire area had been razed to the ground and turned into a barren wasteland, leaving nothing behind but smoke and charred rocks. Even the unlucky carcasses of the creatures that had once lived here had long since turned to ash and scattered to the winds. And worst yet, there no love or concern to be seen in their actions. They simply wanted to make the other submit. Performing every position imaginable and even creating new unthinkable ones. To the two of them this was no different from a battle, just in a different form. But by the end of it all, it was Grimm who walked out with his head held high. With disheveled hair and covered in numerous cuts and burn scars, he had to admit that his respect for Mirola had sharply risen. Considering that it was her first time, the fact that she managed to hold on for as long as she did was praiseworthy. If she showed even half the tenacity she did with him in her battle with Princia, it was no surprise that she came out on top. She was easily worth more than all those noble women he had slept with combined. Even the Witch Queen was no match for her. If it weren't for the fact that his body had grown so much stronger over the past 6 months, there was a chance that he could have been the one to be dominated. The deadline for the Spade Kingdom invasion should be up by now. Thinking quietly to himself, he considered leaving this place and going straight to the Spade Kingdom. But his lack of clothes was quite concerning. Since his had burnt up in his tussle with Mirola and he had no other spares. If he fought the devils in his current condition, he was worried that they would get distracted. And while he had no care about what condition he fought them in, he didn't want his lack of attire to interfere in their battle. To Alysia, I guess. After coming up with a plan, he looked at the sleeping Mirola and shook his head. It would take at least another day or two for her to wake up. Heating the tip of his finger with flame magic, he carved a short note on the ground near her before eventually leaving. Using the speed brought about by Breath of the Storm, it didn't take him longer to reach the new elf village. Yo! He greeted, walking past several elves without batting an eye. Strolling through the village in all his naked glory, there was quite a number of elven women whose faces had turned bright. But there were even more who stared at his manhood. Some even covered their faces but secretly peeked through their fingers. Unbeknownst to Grimm, his tussle with Mirola had caused him to emit pheromones which had yet to die down. Combined with his breath of the beast base, the pheromones he was emitting triggered a primal response in the elven women, forcing them to fight their inherent instinct to throw themselves at him. As for the male elves, well, outside of being uncomfortable, the majority of them were outraged by Grimm's action. What was this? Was he challenging them? Did he think them so insignificant that he could charm their women without any drawback? Well, he was right. To the elves who had lived in this forest for the past 500 years, they knew nothing of conflict. And after seeing Grimm's spars with Patry and the others, they knew they wouldn't stand a chance if things got heated. So instead of embarrassing themselves in front of their potential partners, they swallowed their pride and vowed to get stronger. Without knowing it, Grimm had just motivated a species of individuals whose potential was far greater than humanity's into a might makes right mindset. Whistling to himself and arriving at the Dryad's tree, after a short conversation with her, she directed him towards an elf who had fabric magic in order to get some replacement clothes. Apparently this elf's potential surpassed Vanessa's thread magic. If Vanessa's Cat Rouge could manipulate the red strings of fate, then if this elf's potential was fully realized, they'd be able to manipulate the fabric of reality itself. Quicker than I thought. Standing in front of a mirror with an elegant wooden frame, he looked over his figure with an approving look. After thanking the elf, he quickly left the house and went to meet up with Fana and the others. Heading deeper into the forest, the sound of running water caught his attention. Smiling to himself, he headed towards the sound. It's been a while. He hummed, seeing the breathtaking sight of a naturally formed waterfall flowing ahead of him. So this is where you were hiding? Hey! Hearing a familiar sounding voice, Fana, who was in the middle of drying her hair with fire magic, turned around. Grimm! She gasped, covering her mouth. While it would be a stretch to say that she had recovered from the trauma he had inflicted on her. After spending a month training with him, there was a lot about him that she had come to appreciate. His earnest desire to be the strongest and the uncompromising principles he had when it came to achieving it had left a deep impression on her. His refusal to take shortcuts and the amount of work he put in made her respect him. If it wasn't something he earned, then he wouldn't take it. He wanted to become the strongest, relying on nothing but his own strength. It was quite admirable. Heart Kingdom outskirts. I wonder if Laura Pekka-chan is doing well. Standing on top of a small hill overlooking the entire Heart Kingdom, an eye patch-wearing woman with medium-length black hair and rocking a golden-colored tiara stared at Heart Kingdom Palace off in the distance. Humming a little tune to herself and reminiscing a little, she licked her lips at the thought of fighting a stronger Laura Pekka. I hope you won't disappoint me. Because if you do, I'll be very very angry and might just have to take it out on your little kingdom. Black Bull's base. Looks like Yami Sokiro isn't here yet. Shame. Guess I'll just have to play with you guys until he shows up. Floating in the air and using magic to raise the Black Bull's base off the ground, a crown-wearing man with combed back hair and a notable long black mark running along the entirety of his forehead smirked at the helpless magic knights. Try to entertain me. Chapter 199, Bleeding Heart. Give it up, boy. No matter what you do, you'll never get past my skin magic defense. Give up. Puking out a mouthful of blood and staining his teeth red, Luck revealed a bloody smile as he stared down the dark disciple in front of him. I can't stop here, he said, wiping the blood from his mouth. I'm gonna get stronger. Clench his right fist. I'm gonna get faster. Clench his left fist. And I'm gonna beat you. Roaring out and pushing his speed past its limits. Several magic circles started manifesting behind his figure. Because there's someone out there that I've got to catch up to. So get out of the way, you damn freak. You're slowing me down. Oh ho. Svenken raised a brow, looking at the boy unimpressed. Slowing you down, you say? Grins, and just where are you in such a hurry to go? Where am I going? Luck tilted his head to the side and grinned as more and more magic circles appeared behind him. I'm going to place where he resides. The place where only the strong can stand. I'm going to the top. Suddenly bursting out into a fit of laughter. Svenken hugged his sides as tears welled up in his eyes. The top? You? Ha 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 ha, don't you get it? People like you will never reach such a level. Only someone worthy like Lady Vanica deserves to look down on everyone else. Ignoring his words and finishing up the construction of the last few magic circles, Luck's eyes brimmed with lightning magic as he took up a running pose. Getting ready to run, are you? What a kawa! True lightning magic, Kara Unos. Not allowing him to finish those words and turning himself into a bona fide bolt of lightning, Luck's speed surpassed that of Grimm's unbalanced breath of the storm as he tore through Svenken's magically reinforced skin armor and blasted off into the distance, leaving a gaping hole in the Dark Disciple's chest. What? Unable to understand what had just taken place, Svenken stood wide-eyed with his mouth held open. Tch. Luck clicked his tongue, perched up on one of the Heart Kingdom buildings and looking down at him. No wonder Grimm didn't bother learning true magic, the activation is way too slow for someone like him. Heart Kingdom Palace. Noel. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Bursting out from the center of a watery explosion, another Dark Disciple with a body-related type magic, lifted his elongated tongue and whipped it at Noel, Mimosa, and Laura Pekka. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Swoosh, swoosh. Dodging it moments before it could hit them, the girls distanced themselves and looked at the Dark Disciple with disgust in their eyes as his tongue left a huge dent in the ground. Young girls, young girls, young girls. He screamed hysterically, his tongue dripping with saliva. Let me lick you. Disgusting. Noelle's face scrunched up as she looked at her cousin. Mimosa. On it. Plant magic, magic cannon flower. With the water spirit Undine behind her and powering up her spell via her water magic, Mimosa created a large flower and fired a powerful ray of highly concentrated mana out from the opening of its petals, completely engulfing the Dark Disciple and presumably killing him. After seeing Grimm's lone figure shooting towards the meteor in his fight against the rogue Wizard King, she had steeled her resolve and vowed to never again sit on the sidelines while he risked himself for them. This time I'll stand beside you. Nice shot, Mimosa. Laura Pekka complimented, giving the young noble a thumbs up. Haha, it's all thanks to Yundi. Suddenly freezing in place, the smiles on the Tyros' faces fell as they were hit by a heavy amount of mana that threatened to crush them and force them down to their knees. This overwhelming pressure. It's like nothing I've ever felt before. This mana. It's so heavy. Struggling to stand their ground, beads of sweat trickled down the faces of the three girls as they swallowed their saliva and did their best to steel their nerves. Behind the body of the defeated Dark Disciple, the distressing echoes of heels tapping against the stone floor reverberated out, making its way into the ears of the girls. Yoahudo Loro Pekka-chan. Vanica beamed, stepping through the hole in the wall looking awfully gleeful. Vanica. Laura Pekka stuttered, touching her curse-marked stomach. Ah, you remembered my gift. She giggled, noticing Laura Pekka's actions. Don't worry. I had to leave early last time because of some Megicula stuff. But I promise we can have as much fun as we want today. Swallowing her nervousness and gathering both her anger and courage, the Queen of the Heart Kingdom looked her enemy dead in the eye and asked with deadly seriousness. If I'm the one you want, why did you attack the innocent people of my kingdom? Why spread such death and destruction? Oh, that she tapped her cheek before her face morphed into a disturbing smile. I figured you'd be more into the fight this way. What? Don't you get it? Vanica teased. This is the only way I could make you fight me seriously. Realizing the meaning behind those words, Laura Pekka's eyes became hollow as despair settled in. This is my fault. Because of me. My people are suffering because of M. Asterisk slap. Asterisk. Snap out of it. Noelle yelled. Oh. Vanica blinked, seeing the scene. And Noelle. Laura Pekka's tear-filled eyes looked at her, feeling the burning sensation on her cheek. We didn't come all this way for you to cry now. We made a promise, didn't we? We promised to beat her together. Grim or no Grim. We'll win this. And you. She turned towards Vanica. You monster. She yelled, unable to contain herself any longer. What the hell do you take human lives for? Hey. Vanica suddenly looked at her. Why is some no-name extra talking to me? No-name extra. Noelle trembled at her words and clenched her fists. Yeah, I'm some no-name extra. But guess what? This no-name extra and her friends have already dealt your henchmen. You're done, Vanica. You've lost. Is that so? She yawned and snapped her fingers. Asterisk vroom. Asterisk. I guess I missed that part. Rising out from behind her and cast a large shadow. The previously thought to be dead Dark Disciple rose to his feet and let out a perverted laugh while having a look of extreme pleasure plastered across his face. Do ho 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 ha, that felt so good. Thank you, Lady Vanica, because of you I was able to feel so goo. Asterisk splash. Asterisk. Jumping into the air and stabbing the heel of her boot through the Dark Disciple's skull. Vanica slammed his head into the ground and looked down at him in disgust. Shut up and go deal with the extras who aren't Laura Pekka. Phew 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 phew. He laughed as she pulled her blood-soaked heel out from his head. Marie, step on me Marie. Anyways, she ignored him and returned her focus back onto the trio. As you can see, thanks to the curse I put on them, killing them is impossible. Grins. So what were you saying about dealing with them? Chapter 200, Troubled Heart. Water creation magic, sea dragon's roar. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Equipping her Valkyrie armor and rushing her, Noelle fired off a long-ranged offensive spell hoping to create an opening for her and Laura Pekka to take advantage of while Mimosa kept the Dark Disciple busy. Take this! She screamed at the top of her lungs, putting her all into the attack. Humph! Looking at the incoming attack without a ripple of emotion appearing on her face, Vanica stood with her hands in her pockets and let her grimoire float up to her. Pathetic. Blood magic, red beast. Asterisk roar. Asterisk. Exploding out of her and letting out a monstrous roar in the process, the top half of a gigantic eyeless creature made entirely out of blood burst out from the top of her body and crushed the sea dragon in its jaws. Asterisk pop. Asterisk. Applying a bit of pressure to its mouth, the body of the dragon burst and turned into a sprinkle. Ignoring the pitter-patter of the dead dragon raining down on her, Vanica looked at the bewildered Noelle and in a mocking tone she asked. What was that supposed to be? An attack? Grins, let me show you what a real attack looks like. Asterisk slash. Asterisk. Gliding its claws along the ground and swiping upwards, the red beast let loose a flurry of flying blood slashes towards the water mages. Undine! Laura Pekka yelled. Heeding her call, the spirit of water spread her hands out and raised a protective barrier of water. I won't let you harm her. Asterisk crash. Asterisk. Asterisk crash. Asterisk. Asterisk crash. Asterisk. Damn it. Laura Pekka grit her teeth watching as the blood slashes cut through their defense and dissipated inside the water barrier. I wanted to rely on Grimm's power to help deal with her, but without him here we'll have to resort to plan B. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Laura Pekka-chan. Bursting through the water barrier with a huge smile spread across her face and riding on top her red beast. Vanica let her tongue hang out of her mouth as the red beast's fist slammed down towards the unprotected queen. Laura Pekka. Noelle and Undine screamed in union as Noelle pushed her speed to its limits and grabbed Laura Pekka moments before the blood fist could crush her. Asterisk bong. Asterisk. Ah ha 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 ha. Vanica burst into maniacal laughter, thoroughly enjoying herself. Come on, Laura Pekka. Show me what you can really do. Forget world tree magic and dark magic. This is where the real fun's it. Asterisk slash. Asterisk asterisk slash. Asterisk asterisk slash. Asterisk. Narrowly dodging the slashes while also carrying Laura Pekka in her arms, Noelle's mind raced. World tree magic. Dark magic? Don't those belong to Captain Yami and Captain Vang Ince? What are you planning, Vanica? She yelled. What are you and the Dark Triad trying to do? Ugh. Vanica rolled her eyes and made an irritated face upon hearing her voice. Why would I tell a nobody like you? Safe in Noelle's arms, Laura Pekka closed her eyes and searched the Heart Kingdom's records of what the Dark Triad could do if they acquired both World Tree Magic and Dark Magic. World Tree Magic. Dark Magic. World Tree Magic. Dark Magic. Oh no, her eyes suddenly snapped open as sweat drenched her face. Noelle. She suddenly cried out. Hey. What happened? Why is she so pale? The Dark Triad. We have to stop them. I know. That's what we were planning to do. No. You don't understand. This is about more than just my life now. If we let the Dark Triad have their way, devils will pour into our world and 90% of the people on this continent will die. It'll spell the end of the world as we know it. What? Dodging another attack, her head snapped in Vanica's direction. You goddamn psychopath! What the hell is wrong with you? Why the hell would you do such a dreadful thing? Ugh, you're still talking. Losing her smile, Vanica upped the ferocity of her attacks. So what if all those weaklings die / I just want to have fun with all the strong guys who manage to survive in a place like that. If you have a problem with that, then do your best to survive. This woman, she's insane. Looking at Vanica's grinning face, Noelle was deeply disturbed by how carefree she was about the extinction of humanity. Plan B. She looked at Laura Pekka. Nods. Plan B. Having no other choice, Laura Pekka moved to Plan B. For the sake of this kingdom and the world, we'll beat you right here, right now. Mana Zone and Mana Method. Water Spirit Magic, Ludic Sanctuary. Asterisk Splush. Asterisk asterisk Splush. Asterisk asterisk Splush. Asterisk. Summoning out multiple pillars of swirling water by pulling in water her surroundings, Laura Pekka watched as they rose into the air. One of them even swallowed Vanica and her blood beast, forcing them into the sky, where all the pillars combined together to form a massive body of water with 3 mana Aerai/magic circles placed around its top, middle, and bottom. Go Noelle! She yelled as the Clover Royal jumped into one of the rising pillars and shot towards the massive mass of water above. I've done everything I can, I leave the rest to you. Shooting through the pillar, Noelle steeled her resolve and prepared herself for the battle ahead. The water makes it harder to congeal blood, cutting her power in half while boosting my ow. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Before she could finish what she was thinking, the sound of a high-pitched whistle pierced through the air as something dropped from the sky and crashed straight into the center of the mass of water at such a speed and with enough impact that it shot through the top layer and exited through the bottom, somehow managing to break the mana Aerais in the process and causing the towering body of water to falter and explode. No! Laura Pekka screamed, falling to her knees in despair as she watched the spell she had meticulously practiced break. What happened? Facing upwards and watching as the clouds grew further from her eyes, wind rushed past Noelle's ears as she fell through the air and felt the previous boost of power she was receiving from Laura Pekka's spell leave her body. On the ground. Whistles. Damn. I was just coming for a rematch with Gaja before heading to the Spade Kingdom. But who would have guessed that I'd see something so interesting on my way? Sensing the multiple dark mana signatures spread out all over the Heart Kingdom, a small but disappointed smile crept up onto his face. All stage 0 hey. Too bad I'm far above that now. Gee grim. A weak voice sounded out from behind him. He turned around and caught sight of his caller. Oh, it's you. Lowly Pikachu. Laura Pekka. Right. He nodded, not taking her seriously but noticing her pale face. Wow. She looks like shit. It's your fault. She groaned as if reading his mind. Why do you keep breaking the spells of the Heart Kingdom? Forming mana Aerais aren't easy. Sighing to herself, the backlash from having a spell that was connected to her obliterated left her feeling extremely weak and drained. And knowing from Noelle and Mimosa's stories that arguing with Grimm could potentially put her life at risk, she wrung her sleeves dry and pushed herself up to her feet as Undine cruised down from the sky with Noelle in her arms. I destroyed a spell. Grimm thought back for a moment. Oh. He suddenly figured it out. You mean that non-aesthetically pleasing eyesore floating in the sky? It was bother. Haha. He called the only plan we had that didn't involve him a bother. I'm tired. Besides. He shrugged. I felt a powerful mana signature coming from inside. A powerful mana signature. Eyes widen. You mean? Yoahoo. A cheery voice suddenly echoed out from the distance, causing everyone to freeze. Oloro-chan. Vanica grinned. You never told me you made such an interesting friend.
Thanks for listening.